Chapter 651. It's Yu Ying. In the next second, the immortal shackle's great mystical ability suppressed Su Fang in the sky with absolute suppression. "Look, please move." The mysterious female voice caused him to reveal a surprised expression. A woman walked out from the clouds on the right. She came from the rich lush continent's palace and looked like an ordinary person in charge. Yu Ying. However, her current aura and speed clearly showed that her identity was not ordinary. Seven-Star Child said disdainfully, "You're just a woman. You don't have the right to be so presumptuous in front of me. No one can stop me from getting the person I want." Yu Ying slowly approached Su Fang. The shackle's force did not seem to have much effect on her. Unlike Su Fang, who was still unable to pass through the controlled space at will, her cold, jade-like luster trembled slightly. "Su Fang, I told you not to provoke enemies. You actually provoked an immortal from the Yin dynasty, the Celestial Sealing Sect, and the Zunv Pavilion. I don't want to implicate you." Su Fang suddenly retracted the Tao artifact's power. He no longer forcefully resisted the shackle's force, appearing unusually calm. Yu Ying was startled. "It's not about whether you've implicated me or not. Don't attack first. You're already seriously injured. You should quickly recover and let me deal with it for a while." "Thanks." The most important thing was to recover. Just now, the pressure from the shackles came from Seven-Star Child's immortal energy, which caused Su Fang's body to be compressed internally. His body was severely injured. Fortunately, he had the perfect Black Lotus body. If he could recover to his normal state, he would have a chance to fight against immortals. Now was not the time to show off. He could only choose to compromise and accept Yu Ying's kindness. "Little girl, you'll only have one more corpse here. You can also take a look at the female slave in my hand. Maybe this will be your end." The stone monster was very arrogant. It pulled Lan Haiqing to the front and stepped on his shoulder, wanting to intimidate Yu Ying. "Haiqing, I've implicated you," Su Fang muttered to himself as he frantically recovered in secret. Murderous intent filled his heart. Then, he secretly activated his consciousness and sent it to Lan Haiqing. "If you had submitted to Seven-Star Child the moment he found you, you wouldn't have ended up like this. It must be because you didn't tell him everything about me. You and I have nothing to do with each other since last time, but this time, I owe you a favor. I must save you from Seven-Star Child." Lan Haiqing replied hoarsely, "Don't be like this. This is the path I chose. Seven-Star Child won't let me go. Whether I compromise with him or not, the outcome will be the same. Don't blame yourself. I just regret listening to you and not having any contact with Huang Lingyao." At this moment, Grand Elder Red Lotus walked up to Seven-Star Child and said, "Senior, let my disciples deal with that woman." "Okay." Seven-Star Child accepted the suggestion. Whoosh! A peerless elder of the Green Lotus Sword sect who had reached the winged transformation realm flew out from the crowd. He did not seem to be an elder or the first elder, but his strength was unfathomable. His speed was very shocking. He swept across the sky and was about to kill Yu Ying. Su Fang was recovering and secretly glanced ahead. The Green Lotus Sword sect is indeed the strongest force in the Wu-Tan field. There are easily more than 10 people who have reached the first elder's strength. Whoosh! A green light immediately came out from the elder's palms and turned into a green armor-like attack. Poof! When he was less than 10 feet away from Yu Ying, the green armor arrived in front of Yu Ying first and was about to smash her into pieces. Unexpectedly, she disappeared into thin air and appeared behind the elder in the blink of an eye. She did not even look at him and waved her finger. An extremely ordinary invisible blade light hit the elder's back. His defense could not resist and was cut open by the blade light. Then, the flesh armor was crushed. Finally, the elder's body was cut open from the back by the blade light. His body was split open in the air and his internal organs fell out. Chong Chong is too abnormal. Su Fang, who was 60 feet away, saw the entire process. Seeing everything, he did not expect Yu Yingying to have such strength. One must know that he had once secretly sensed her strength. She was probably at the level of an elder and a first elder. But now Yu Yingying was an absolute expert. Damn it! The Green Lotus Sword Sect's Sword Elder and Red Lotus First Elder were heartbroken. In just a short moment, First Elder Qing Feng was killed by Su Fang. Now, an expert stronger than Qing Feng was killed by Yu Yingying in one move. How could they not be angry? Even if they were the strongest force in the Wu-Tan field, they still had countless experts. Every expert killed meant one less person. So you have grasped the Spirit Mist World's shocking source and can use it. Seven-Star Child's expression did not change. This immortal knows. You must have some relationship with a sector lord to be able to control the world power to such an extent. Yu Yingying killed without blinking, and her aura did not change. What a female Rakshasa! She did not give Seven-Star Child any face. You are an immortal senior, but you have killed your way into the Spirit Mist World. This is too rude. This junior does not want to offend immortals. Senior, please leave the Spirit Mist World. Haha, this immortal came from a large world and came to a small world. Could it be that I will be stopped by a mortal like you? Then, a woman like you will also die by my hand. Let's see if your world power or my domain is stronger. Seven-Star Child slowly raised his arm. Senior, there is no need for you to do anything. Leave it to this junior. Red Lotus First Elder bowed again. You can't kill her. This woman has grasped world power that far surpasses your understanding. She is also stronger than you. How is that possible? The Grand First Elder did not believe a woman could surpass him. Red Lotus First Elder looked at Yu Yingying again and suddenly said, "This junior has some impression of this woman. She is the person in charge of the Abundant Lush Continent's Chamber of Commerce and has interacted with my Green Lotus Sword sect many times." Abundant Lush Continent. Seven-Star Child did not intend to stop and slightly spread his fingers. That's right. She is in charge of the entire continent's Chamber of Commerce. She doesn't give off a strong feeling. That's because you have all been deceived by this woman. Seven-Star Child's 5 fingers crackled. Bang! In an instant, Yu Yingying shook in the air. Just like Su Fang, she was unable to move at all. Her aura and defense began to clearly show. She was still controlling her divine ability. You are an immortal and have already comprehended a certain level of the Tao of nature. You have reached the level of virtuous like water. However, this is a small world with a ruler. World shatter. An essence light burst out from Yu Yingying's body and enveloped her defense. After this light appeared, the surrounding shackles began to tremble. Yu Yingying began to regain some movement. As the surrounding space shattered once more, she was able to move freely. Seven-Star Child was slightly startled. You have cultivated the Spirit Mist World's origin to such a level. You are clearly not an ordinary cultivator. Perhaps I should give face to the expert behind you, but today this immortal must capture this brat. There are countless experts in the Spirit Mist World. I am nothing, especially in front of an immortal like you. You are still a bit unconvinced. Then, I will have to make you more obedient. Seven-Star Child's 5 fingers clenched once more. Bang! Having just regained her freedom, Yu Yingying did not have time to catch her breath and counterattack. The entire space was once again suppressed by the invisible shackles. This pressure could be seen clearly with the naked eye. It was the distorted light pushing the space, forcefully compressing and shackling the space around Yu Yingying. As a result, the shackles' power continued to shrink the space, causing Yu Yingying to involuntarily tremble. She was hit by the terrifying shackles. Yu Yingying was once again unable to move. At this moment, blood flowed out from the corner of her mouth and eyes. Immortals have cultivated for countless years. Are you still suppressing mortals like this? Seeing this scene, Su Fong finally could not hold back his anger and angrily shouted at Seven-Star Child. Haha! Seven-Star Child lost his composure for the first time and laughed. Brat, you are really powerless, bored, and incompetent. You actually asked such a ridiculous, funny, and childish question. Even the stone-faced man was laughing very complacently. Su Fong, you're completely finished. I'm afraid that the powerful figure behind you will not show up if he sees that you are in danger. Any small world tycoon who comes before an immortal will only have a dead end. Even Huang Lingyao was secretly very pleased. Su Fong. Yu Yingying suddenly looked at Su Fong. Her clothes were soaked in blood. I don't know whether to laugh or cry. I really want to kick you. Immortals, haha, there are only two words in this world. Strength. With strength, even immortals can come to small worlds and do whatever they want. It's normal for them to kill all mortals. This is the difference between the weak and the strong. Only when you become a strong person will you have the right to ask questions. Otherwise, you won't even have the right to ask questions. Do you think immortals are all good people? Damn it. Su Fong glanced at Seven-Star Child. He had truly seen the laws of this world and recognized immortals. Origin domain. Yu Yingying began to resist again. As the vast power of the world surged out, the space around her began to collide with the power of the shackles again. She was able to recover some of her movements. Not simple, not simple. To be able to do this under the shackles of an immortal, Seven-Star Child could be considered to have made a move. This subordinate will go and suppress that woman now. The stone golem suddenly shackled Lan Haiqing in place. After bowing to Seven-Star Child, he immediately strode towards Seven-Star Child. A long whip of shackles appeared in his hand. It seemed like he wanted to shackle Yu Yingying and then deal with her like how he dealt with Lan Haiqing. Seeing this, Su Fong immediately sent a message to Yu Yingying. Sorry, I'm almost done. This time, I will definitely make that immortal pay a certain price. At least, I will rely on myself to kill my way out of the spirit mist world. Yu Yingying's attitude was firm. You don't need to do anything. This matter has nothing to do with you. I'm not trying to save you. For an immortal to kill his way into the spirit mist world is already a blasphemy to the ruler. Even if he's an immortal, he won't be able to touch a single hair on your head in the spirit mist world. What do you mean it has nothing to do with me? It's clearly because of me. Su Fong was puzzled. Kiki, another female slave. The stone golem had almost arrived in front of Yu Yingying. When Yu Yingying saw the complacent stone golem, her eyes suddenly erupted with the power of the world. This power was indescribable. After it exploded, the shackles around her immediately shattered, turning into surging light that shot toward the stone golem. The stone golem was also an expert. It had never imagined that Yu Yingying would have such a terrifying technique. It immediately circulated a large amount of true qi, forming a giant fist that smashed into the light. But it was gravely mistaken. With its strength, it wasn't able to block the light. Instead, the light struck it. Bitch! The stone golem was sent flying. While it was in the air, its flesh and blood splattered everywhere. When the flesh and blood flew out, they condensed into pieces of broken black stone. This was the stone golem's true body. Yu Yingying spat out a mouthful of blood. You think you can be so arrogant in front of me? Chapter 652. Powerful. Not only to Su Fong, but also to the experts of the Green Lotus Sword sect, Huang Lingyao, Yu Yingying's methods were truly powerful. It was hard to believe that under the immortal shackles, she could still use such a method to send the stone golem flying. If it weren't for the influence of the shackles, this move would probably be able to kill the stone golem like what Su Fong did. The stone golem had a big hole in its body, and its body could be seen through. After it finally stopped, it was filled with hatred and fear. Bitch, bitch! Sooner or later, I'll suppress you, stone golem, and make you unable to say another word for eternity. Nothing good comes out of a dog's mouth. Like dog, like master, Yu Yingying replied coldly, ignoring her own injuries. The stone golem asked Seven-Star Child for help. Master wants to avenge me. Trash. Seven-Star Child sneered, scaring the stone golem into retreating. You're not simple, but in front of this immortal, you're nothing. This immortal only released some shackles, and you were almost killed. Seven-Star Child condensed his aura. If you don't move, don't blame me for killing you. Who wants to kill my disciple? A mysterious male voice suddenly reverberated between heaven and earth. It sounded like a man in his 30s. Master. Yu Yingying's spirit was lifted. Su Fang relaxed. Yu Yingying's master was finally a peerless expert who could resist an immortal. Seven-Star Child looked at the vast clouds in the sky and said, Sir, you're late. The reason why I didn't kill your disciple is that I hope you can make way for me. I just want to take away a mortal cultivator. Ascended immortals from the Wu-Tan realm silently came to my spiritual mist realm and hurt my disciple. As an immortal, you've gone too far by attacking a mortal. High up in the sky, right above the continent of abundance, a cluster of glittering clouds suddenly broke through the clouds of heaven and earth, winding its way over. Above the bejeweled clouds there was a throne. The throne was pulled by a huge spirit snake, and on the throne was a middle-aged man who was not even 40 years old. The throne was made from a large number of gems, and the man was wearing a white robe. There were some extraordinary decorations all over his body, and even his shoes were carved from gems. That person took a look. How could there be such a peerless expert in the countless small worlds? Only the lord of the rich lush continent was the ruler of the rich lush continent. Perhaps the experts of the Green Lotus Sword sect, as well as Huang Lingyao and Su Fang, were all stunned. This was the first time they had seen the legendary 6 Lords of Fertility. The Lord of the 6 of Rich Lush wasn't too old. He had an average build and was very thin. The only difference was that he had a mustache and a pair of small eyes. Master. Yu Yingying bowed to the 6 Lords of Fertility despite being bound by the shackles. The 6 Lords of Fertility had yet to descend. With just a glance, the shackles around Yu Yingying shattered, and even Su Fang regained his freedom. Su Fang sighed inwardly, amazing! He can control nature to such an extent. It's not something that can be done just by controlling the power of the world. Even after absorbing so much of the power of the world of the Zhuotian realm, I still can't do it. I can't even do 1% of it. Only now did he know that the 6 Lords of the fertile continent not only liked treasures and was obsessed with power in the mortal world, but also had such terrifying strength. He was indeed worthy of being a supreme expert. His strength was far greater than any sect master of a large force. Buzz. Above the bejeweled clouds, the 6 Lords of Fertility appeared beside Yu Yingying and looked at Seven-Star Child calmly. You have a shocking origin aura from the Wu-Tan realm, and you're so close to the Green Lotus Sword sect. I guess you're the big shot from the Wu-Tan realm, Seven-Star Child, who ascended to the great world more than 100,000 years ago. I didn't expect you to know where I came from. Seven-Star Child was surprised. The Wu-Tan realm isn't far from the Spirit Mist realm, and I've been cultivating for a long time. Although I don't go to the Wu-Tan realm often, I still have some understanding of it. The 6 Lords of Fertility seemed polite, but his small eyes were filled with shrewdness. Seven-Star Child, you've ascended to the great world for such a long time, surpassing ordinary immortals. Why are you still attached to this small world? This isn't a place for immortals to stay. Seven-Star Child nodded. Lord 6 is the former disciple of the Spirit Mist Realm's master. I won't beat around the bush with you. That young cultivator called Su Fang broke into my training ground and killed my second clone. He also stole a lot of treasures. This time, I came to the lower realm to capture him. The sixth Lords of Fertility is the disciple of the Spirit Mist Realm's master. Many people exclaimed inwardly. The six lords faintly smiled and glanced at Su Fong. The latter's body tensed up. I don't know about this young man's past, but I know that he has joined my Chamber of Commerce and is cooperating with my Chamber of Commerce in the pill business. I won't ask about your past, but I'll look at your present. I hope the six lords can make way for me. I just want to take him away. When I come back in the future, I'll definitely visit you to thank you. I said I won't get involved in your past. 7-star child, you're an immortal. What you do in the small world has nothing to do with me. However, Su Fong and I have a business relationship now. You know that I'm just a businessman, and business is business. He's with me, so he's under my control. I also want to take this person away. Lord 6, please make way. By the time 7-star child said this, everyone could clearly see that the two big shots had reached a state of mutual hostility. If they weren't careful, they would fight. Among everyone, Su Fong was probably the only one who couldn't breathe. He felt that today, regardless of whether he lived or died, he was sandwiched between the two big shots. Inside his divine aperture, the divine image Jade Annulus was ready to protect Su Fong at any time. Master, don't be discouraged. They've been cultivating for countless years, at least 100,000 years, and at most hundreds of thousands of years. Master, you have the potential to surpass them. Su Fong couldn't comfort himself. All I have is potential. I'm really too weak. It's really hard for you to follow me. We Dharma treasures may follow many masters throughout our lives. Masters come in all shapes and sizes. Being able to meet a suitable master is also a kind of immortal fate. I won't let you down. Immortal, I want to become a strong expert. I want to find a way to become strong in the shortest time possible. Not only will I kill 7-star child, but I also want to take back the mortal emperor world from the Xinyuan Empire and kill all the enemies who stand in my way. At this moment, Su Fong felt that he was just an ant again. In front of an immortal, he was just an ant. After many years of cultivation, he was about to become an expert at the peak of the small world. However, he still ended up in a situation where he couldn't control his own life and death. This was a very painful blow to him. This is the Spirit Mist world. Everything has to be done according to the rules of the Spirit Mist world. Facing a peerless immortal, the lush continent was still as calm as before. If everyone in the world is like you, casually taking someone from me, then how will I control the lush continent in the future? When 7-star child heard this, his aura froze. I'm definitely taking him, but I really don't want to fight with an expert like the lush continent lord. I also want to protect him. 7-star child, did you come down to the lower realm to fight with me? I'm afraid that even if we fight, you won't be able to take him away. This is the Spirit Mist world, said the lush continent lord with a smile. Why does the lush continent lord have to protect Su Fong? Has his luck changed? Huang Lingyao was puzzled. She wanted Su Fong to die at 7-star child's hands. But now, it seemed that the lush continent lord didn't give 7-star child any face. Why is the lush continent lord protecting me like this? Even the person himself was confused. The lush continent lord suddenly said, I can take a step back. 7-star child's expression changed. This place is under my control. If you want to kill the people under my control, I naturally won't be willing. But if Su Fong leaves the Spirit Mist world, or if he's not in the Spirit Mist world, I don't need to care. If you want to kill him, it has nothing to do with me. Alright, the lush continent lord is a straightforward person. Su Fong. The lush continent lord secretly sent a message to Su Fong. In a bit, I'll use the power of my shackles to force you out of the Spirit Mist world. Take advantage of that to hide in the boundless starry river. With your strength, hiding and preserving your life shouldn't be difficult. Many thanks, lush continent lord. The dumbstruck Su Fong immediately thanked the lush continent lord. Since you're in the spirit mist world, I naturally have to take care of your matters. Allow me to say a few more words. Seven-Star Child has been famous for a long time, and he is extremely powerful. If I fight with him, neither of us will be able to do anything to the other. But the power of our fight will definitely be able to destroy the majority of the spirit mist world. In other words, half of the spirit mist world will be turned into ruins, and half of the life forms in this world will be wiped out. Considering the situation, Seven-Star Child won't casually fight with me. So there's only one way to resolve this. Both sides have a way out of this embarrassing situation. You should properly use the remaining time to strengthen yourself. Since you stole Seven-Star Child's treasure and killed his second clone, he definitely won't forgive you. In the end, your life is still in your own hands. As for your Heaven Crossing sect, just let it remain on Little Heavenly Devil Island. Seven-Star Child will only target you. He won't care about your Heaven Crossing sect. This time, let's make a deal. I'll protect your Heaven Crossing sect, but in the future, I'll take 50% of the profits from the Yang strengthening pills. Many thanks, Senior. 50% it is. Hearing these words, Su Fong no longer had any worries in his heart. He immediately sent a transmission to Li Ziqing, Li Haojie, Hua Qianji, Gu Shizhen, and Lu Yuan. Once he left, they could all return to the Heaven Crossing sect. Furthermore, he had secretly condensed a large amount of Yang energy. Using his world strength and the Six Lords of Fertility's powerful aura, he took advantage of the fact that Seven-Star Child couldn't sense him to transform his Yang energy into runes that flew into the sky. The Leech King was already waiting on the surface of the water to collect the runes. At this moment, Seven-Star Child's faint laughter rang out. Sixth Lord, can you let him leave the spirit mist world now? Of course. The Six Lords of Fertility slowly looked at Su Fong. The Green Lotus Sword sex experts around Seven-Star Child were all ready to follow Su Fong out of the spirit mist world. The instant Su Fong stepped out of the spirit mist world, they would surround and kill him. Pow! The Six Lords of Fertility suddenly sent a palm at Su Fong. Boom! A huge force caused Su Fong to vomit blood. He turned into a starry afterimage and flew into the sky, disappearing in an instant. Whoosh! Whoosh! Aside from Seven-Star Child, everyone immediately chased after him. The Six Lords of Fertility stood with his hands behind his back. Don't worry. I will not let Su Fong return to the spirit mist world. There will be plenty of time in the future. Seven-Star Child left behind these meaningful words before disappearing. Yu Yingying hurriedly came over. Master, that was close. If we really fought with Seven-Star Child, Seven-Star Child is a ruthless person. If he finds an opportunity in the future, he will definitely kill me. Especially when I ascend to the great world in the future. If I encounter him, then Master still has to protect Su Fong. With my status, protecting Su Fong is natural. If I don't protect him, I will lose face if word gets out. Go back. Su Fong's fate will be in his own hands from now on. After the Six Lords of Fertility finished speaking, he waved his hand, and the two of them flew away. Chapter 653. Outside the Spirit Mist World. Naturally, it was the boundless starry sky. In the starry sky very far away from the Spirit Mist World, there were many floating meteorites. Each of them was very huge. They were bigger than the continents in the small worlds, and there were endless nebulas at the deeper end. One of the meteorites, there was a deep indentation where the exposed surface of the rock actually had some engravings. These engravings were in the cold and empty galaxy. It was as if the civilizations of the past had deliberately left them here to represent eternal immortality. Suddenly, these engravings seemed to come to life and released some spiritual light. They turned into runes that burned and instantly formed a door. When the door formed, a figure passed through it. Su Fang. He appeared in the deep indentation of the meteorite with a shocked expression. When he looked around, the door suddenly calmed down and completely disappeared. Galaxy. Silence. It was a silence that had never been there before. Su Fang looked at the galaxy in all directions. This was the first time he stood in deep space without any small world. A sense of loneliness unknowingly engulfed his body. He was not unfamiliar with deep space. In the past, he had traveled between the galaxies of various small worlds. However, this time, he was in an endless galaxy. The sixth Lord of Fertility left these true engravings here. It should be a teleportation array formation. Why is he protecting me? He calmed down. In this galaxy, he first adjusted his breathing and formed a defense to resist the cold aura of the galaxy and the various shackles of the galaxy. He did not forget that he was being chased by an immortal. He summoned a flying sword and stood on it as he slowly flew above the meteorite. He did not understand why the sixth Lord of Fertility would not hesitate to offend an immortal to save him. After a while, he arrived above the meteorite. Behind him was the Spirit Mist World. From here, the Spirit Mist World was only the size of an ordinary continent. It was not too far away. If he flew alone, it would take at least 10 years. 7-Star Child must be chasing me around the Spirit Mist World. It is not too late to hide here first and go out later. After seeing the Spirit Mist World, he calmed down and activated the Xianwang Six Paths Pagoda. Su Fang turned into a light spot and entered the Xianwang Six Paths Pagoda. Meanwhile, his artifact landed on the surface of the meteorite, perfectly hiding its aura. Even if 7-Star Child had the ability to sense any life aura around the Spirit Mist World, it was impossible for him to sense a magic treasure without any life aura. Outside the Spirit Mist World, at this moment, an expanse of figures surged out from the Spirit Mist World, and they arrived at the pitch-black and cold river of stars. It turned out that 7-Star Child had led a group of experts from the Spirit Mist Realm to the Deep Space Star River in just a few breaths. Supreme Young Immortal, Deep Space Tracking. 7-Star Child suddenly opened his arms and put his palms together. His body overflowed with indescribable immortal light, giving Huang Lingyao, Elder Jian, Elder Honglian, and the others behind him the feeling that his divine might had already filled the surrounding deep space. About an hour later, he slowly stopped sensing and turned around angrily. He stared at the Spirit Mist World and said, "Despicable 6 Lords of Fertility, you are clearly saving that brat." The Sword Elder trembled. "Senior," he slipped away. "You can use the Divine Image Jade Annulus to sense him." 7-Star Child was furious. "Even the Divine Image Jade Annulus won't work. That brat's methods are extraordinary. Even if he is a Catastrophe Realm cultivator, how could he not know that I can use the Divine Image Jade Annulus to sense his tracks? Could it be that he will obediently stay somewhere in the deep space and activate his Tao artifact? Yes, I was too anxious. How could he not be anxious?" The Sword Elder did not come for Su Fang, but for the Divine Image Jade Annulus. He was about to get the Divine Image Jade Annulus back from Su Fang, but who knew that there would be an unforeseen event halfway? He watched the Tao artifact slip away again. At this moment, he was sweating profusely, and his heart seemed to be swaying left and right in his chest. He suddenly lost his cool. He actually dared to interfere with the will of an immortal. He was really afraid that 7-Star Child Thunder would be angry. The Sword Elder had unknowingly offended 7-Star Child. However, another person also stood up and spoke. But as soon as he spoke, 7-Star Child's anger dissipated. Huang Lingyao bowed. If the 6 Lords of Fertility insist on helping Su Fang, they will definitely transfer him to a deep space where he can't sense him. Senior, I will continue to work for you and secretly inquire about Su Fang's whereabouts. As soon as he appears, I will immediately inform you. Alright, you can return to the Zhuotian realm first. Seven-Star Child still seemed unhappy. He pointed in the air, and Huang Lingyao disappeared. He also returned with the experts of the Green Lotus Sword sect in defeat. In the distant galaxy, the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda was hidden in a layer of meteorites. Within the space, Su Fang was absorbing all kinds of spiritual items to recover. At the same time, he was also cultivating the limitless Taoist art and the ethereal true enlightenment. He had been cultivating all this time. He had already recovered from the injuries caused by Seven-Star Child's shackles. Now, he was quickly recovering. 3 years later, after recovering from his injuries, Su Fang calculated that it was time to leave the galaxy and return to the small world. With a thought, he returned to the meteorite and summoned a heavenly ship. After entering the heavenly ship, he contacted Li Ziqing. Li Ziqing transmitted, "Don't come back yet. I've already helped you look after the Heaven Crossing sect. Now order has already been restored. You should be thinking about what to do next. Seven-Star Child will keep an eye on your aura at all times." Where should I go? In the vast deep space, it was appropriate to discuss this question. The galaxy was empty, and his heart was even more empty. Su Fang thought for a while. I only have 2 choices now. One is to go to the human emperor world, and the other is to go to the immortal primordial domain and hide in the 5 Poison Divine sect for a while. Coincidentally, these 2 small worlds are quite far from the Wu Tan realm. I believe that even if Seven-Star Child can sense them, it won't be as easy as he can sense the Spirit Mist realm. Then you have to be even more careful. Last time, you cooperated with the 5 Poison Divine sect to kill Heart Image Student, Doichi, and Great Emperor Dipper. Perhaps they will also act against you, and your identity will be exposed soon. At that time, you will also be in danger when you go to the small worlds controlled by the 2 great powers. The 5 Poison Divine sect is probably not in a good situation right now. Once I take back the human emperor world from the Xinyuan Empire, I can draw it into the deep space and hide it well. Then, I can move everything into the human emperor world and cultivate in secret. With a place to stay, it won't be easy for immortals to kill me. Right now, you don't have the strength to fuse with the human emperor world in a short time. It seemed that Li Ziqing was right. The human emperor world was controlled by the Xinyuan Empire. As a catastrophe realm cultivator, it was impossible for him to take back the human emperor world in a short time. In addition, Seven-Star Child was chasing after him. There's another place. I can go to the Heavenly Dipper realm. Su Fang, who seemed to have no other choice, suddenly smiled in surprise. Li Ziqing also praised, "Yes, the Heavenly Dipper realm is the best place for you to go. Bai Ling is cultivating with Mu Chen, and Mu Chen's strength should be at the same level as the Lord of 5 Poisons. In addition, it is extremely far from the Wu Tan world. Even immortals would not be able to sense that place. If I go with you, it can be considered as having a helper. The Sky Crossing sect has the protection of the fertile continent, so there won't be any problems." "Many thanks, Senior." His heart finally calmed down. Not long after, the heavenly ship slowly approached the Spirit Mist world. While waiting for Li Ziqing, a rune in his body moved. "Why is Li Haojie looking for me?" So it was Li Haojie. After Su Fang activated it, Li Haojie's voice urgently rang out from the rune, "Brother Fang, it's not good. Speak slowly." After I suppressed Aozhen, I received a lot of news from the Xuanf Pavilion. I erased them one by one. Later on, the Xuanf Pavilion should have known that she was suppressed, so they did not send any more news. Who knew that a thought from the Xuanf Pavilion just now, telling Aozhen to pass a message to you. What message? Your clansmen in the territory behind the dark forest have all fallen into the hands of the Xuanf Pavilion. They want you to obediently bring Aozhen back to the Xuanf Pavilion and compromise with them. Otherwise, they will kill all your clansmen, not leaving a single one alive. What? At this moment, the heavenly ship rumbled with divine might. In anger, Su Fangda roared, and the veins on his body swelled. The Xuanv pavilion had actually captured the family Su clansman. Such news was undoubtedly like a bolt from the blue, causing his scalp to go numb and his entire body to lose consciousness. Creak, creak. Inside the heavenly ship, who would have thought that after Su Fangda's roar, in his burning anger, he would transform into a dancing blood-colored long hair. Blood chi was emitted from his shoulders, and blood horns were actually growing out. Berserk. At this moment, he became berserk again, and a pair of sharp blood horns grew out of his shoulders. Blood was still dripping from the two blood horns, emitting hot blood chi. After entering the berserk blood transformation, his entire body was burning with an evil and ruthless aura. Fortunately, his eyes did not lose their light. Although he was extremely angry, he still maintained a certain level of consciousness. Xuanv Pavilion, I want you dead! Su Fang roared out like a tsunami. At this moment, Li Haojia's voice was also very angry. I didn't expect a great sect to be so despicable and shameless. Brother Fang, you have to think of a foolproof plan. If the Xuanv Pavilion can capture your clansmen, then they can definitely kill your clansmen. If things go wrong, then, okay. Su Fang circulated his true qi and struck his consciousness, calming himself down. Seeing the blood horns slowly returning to his shoulders, he heaved a sigh of relief. This was the blood transformation. If he really entered the berserk state and lost consciousness, he would be buried in the vast Milky Way. A righteous sect is so shameless and has no bottom line. They are even worse than the demonic and evil sects. Although he stopped the blood transformation, he thought of Su Ting, Su Junyan, Su Yi, Su Yen, Su Xiaolong, and the rest of his clansmen. How could he still have the mood to go to the Big Dipper world? To settle down, he had to calm himself down. If he lost his cool, not only would he not be able to save his clansmen, he might even die in the hands of the Xuanv Pavilion. Immortals are scary, but the Xuanv Pavilion is even more difficult to deal with. They captured my clansmen to threaten me. I have to think of a way to save them. Su Fang sat down cross-legged and allowed the heavenly ship to continue heading towards the spirit mist world. Soon, his body and soul seemed to be in deep space, traveling silently along with the heavenly ship. In less than a year, he finally met Li Ziqing in deep space. When Li Ziqing heard this, he was also shocked and in disbelief. Even he did not expect that the Xuanv Pavilion would take such a step. This was the true evil path. Li Ziqing asked Su Fang to calm down and controlled the heavenly ship to get closer to the Zhuotian world. The two of them would then slowly think of a way to save their clansmen. Zhuotian world, Xuanv Pavilion. In the elders' hall deep in the core area. A group of elders gathered in the hall. Only heartless Granny was missing. Even one of the two saintesses, Ruan Nu, was among them. Xuanzhen Nun and Ruan Nu sat together. There were more than 10 other elders. Of course, they were not all the higher-ups or elders of the Xuanv Pavilion. Most of them were female elders. There were only 4 male elders like Zhang Suning. Zhang Suning was furious. This Su Fang deserves to die. He can still remain calm. His clansmen are under our control, but he is not in a hurry. This person is probably thinking of a way. We just received news that something happened to his Heaven Crossing sect. I heard that it was related to the Green Lotus Sword sect. There were even rumors that the 6 Lords of Fertility had appeared. I also heard that there were immortals present. Xuanzhen Nun analyzed coldly. It's a pity that the Chamber of Commerce's spies could not get too close. This person is tough. He might have already returned to the Zhuotian world, and is thinking of a way to save his clansmen. Chapter 654. No matter what, based on our current understanding of the situation, Su Fang is a righteous person. he will definitely come to our Zunv pavilion. We just need to set up a net and wait for him. Let him come but not return. Each of the elders had sinister eyes. When they were thinking for Zunv pavilion, they would do anything to achieve their goals. Zhuotian realm, outside the Milky Way. The heavenly ship slowly disappeared. Su Fang and Li Ziqing arrived in front of the barrier and released the Zhuotian realm's world source. Su Fang immediately felt how vast the world inside was. The two entered the world barrier and hid their auras in the sky. Li Ziqing said, "Since Zunv Pavilion doesn't hesitate to capture your clansmen, you can't sneak into Zunv Pavilion to save them." With a frosty expression, Su Fang nodded slowly. "I also understand that this is their last method to suppress me. They will definitely hide my clansmen in a place that even their own people don't know. If you want to save them, there is only one possibility now. You can openly rescue your clansmen from Zunv Pavilion. It is impossible to do so in front of Zunv Pavilion. Zunv Pavilion will definitely send out countless experts. There might not be just one peerless expert like Heartless Granny. There is no hurry. Zunv Pavilion will not easily destroy their trump card. Your clansmen are not in danger for now. We can slowly think of a way. In the end, you cannot let them take the initiative. They already think that they have the initiative." Deep in the clouds, the two secretly communicated. They would not enter the Crimson Firmament continent for now. From high up in the sky, Su Fang could see the gourd-shaped Crimson Firmament continent with his naked eyes. He could even see the ruins of the spirit sect. The perfected Black Lotus physical body was indeed not simple. Even an old antique like Li Ziqing had to perform a sensing technique in order to pass through the clouds and vaguely see some illusory figures of the continent that looked like flickering dots. Buzz. About a few days later, a rune talisman in his mind moved. His father Su Yaotian's caring voice came from the rune talisman. "Fang Er, if you want to save your clansmen, you should let me face the difficulties together with you. Father, Zunv Pavilion is not easy to deal with. They have already prepared an ambush. You will be in more danger if you come. You also know what kind of person Father is." Back then, Father was still an ordinary cultivator, but he was able to establish a force in the Great Jade Mountain to fight against the state of Zhao. At that time, the state of Zhao was undoubtedly the current Zunv Pavilion. Moreover, Father is a member of the clan. There is no reason for him not to participate. "Alright, I'll get Hua Qianji to protect you and use the profound door of the bountiful continent to teleport directly to the spirit sect ruins. I'll wait for you there." The rune talisman was quiet, but his heart was filled with warmth. For his father, Su Yaotian, to be able to face the crisis with him in this situation made him feel as if he had returned to the state of Zhao in the past. He had joined forces with his father to destroy the state of Zhao. Su Fang and Li Ziqing immediately flew towards the ruins of the spirit sect. Within a dozen breaths, they arrived at the ruins of the continent. The aura of the bloody hell wolf smoke. There are quite a lot of auras. It seems that the Night Spirit sect has a lot of evil cult members hiding in the ruins of the Spirit sect. The Supreme God sect is in big trouble. It seems like they are going to be swallowed up by the Night Spirit sect. Having just arrived at the ruins of the Spirit sect, Su Fang naturally had to determine if there was any danger in this continent with his current astonishing senses. There was no danger, but he sensed the evil aura of the bloody hell wolf smoke in the depths of the ruins of the continent. There were at least dozens of them. Sensing more carefully, there were also many evil auras in the places where the bloody hell wolf smoke was released. There were even many around the Supreme God sect. After chatting with Li Ziqing for a while, the latter was puzzled. "I don't know what's going on with the Night Spirit sect. According to what you said, they should be making a big move in the Zhuotian realm. They will kill countless mortals and cultivators. They are trying to establish a big force." Su Fang was also puzzled. This is indeed very puzzling. The Night Spirit sect has been causing trouble time and time again. they are not trying to establish a force, but they are killing cultivators everywhere. I don't think they are trying to establish a foundation in the Zhuotian realm. I used to think that the Night Spirit sect would expand rapidly and establish a big force. However, after so many years, there is not even the slightest movement. Since that is the case, they are not a threat. How can it be so easy for an evil cult to establish a force? Although the Five Poisons Divine sect is an evil cult, they have not done any large-scale killing of cultivators. Otherwise, even if they have a Lord of Five Poisons, they would not be able to establish a force in any small world. Night Spirit sect. Retracting his senses, he continued to wait outside the city of the Supreme God sect. After about 2 days, Su Yaotian and Hua Qianji appeared from the ruins of the ancient city. After secretly meeting outside the city, the four of them hid in the depths of the ruins. Su Yaotian was also very worried about the situation of his clansmen. He originally wanted to return to the state of Zhao to take a look, but Li Ziqing said something that disappointed everyone. Since the Zunv Pavilion took this step and wanted to use the family Su clansmen to threaten Su Fang, then once they made a move, they would definitely destroy the family Su dynasty. Other than mortals, they would not easily leave anyone alive. Even the mortals had been completely slaughtered. If even one person was left alive, the news of the Zunv Pavilion slaughtering innocent people would not spread. The Zunv Pavilion would also become an evil cult in the Zhuotian realm. The Zunv Pavilion was not the Xinyuan Empire or the Doichi Empire. Those were two top forces. They could kill people, and then no one would dare to talk about them. On the contrary, the Zunv Pavilion was only a big force in a small world. If they did such a heaven-defying act, they would definitely be condemned in speech and writing. In other words, the entire family Su dynasty, from top to bottom, would lose as many people as there were. In a daze, he seemed to feel the Lord of Five Poisons appear beside him. Su Fang looked at the three of them and said, "I finally understand what the sect leader said to me back then. There is no such thing as righteous, evil, or demonic in this world." Li Ziqing smiled honestly and said, "It's good that you understand. It's not too late now. The Celestial Bestowment sect, Zunv Pavilion, Green Lotus Sword sect, Doichi, and Xinyuan Empire are all righteous forces. For their own benefits, they will do things that only the demonic path can do. On the surface, they call themselves righteous, but they secretly do evil deeds. On the contrary, the Five Poisons sect, which everyone calls an evil force, rarely harms the innocent." Su Yaotian clenched his fist and said, "Fanger, the Zunv Pavilion is just like the state of Zhao in the past. In fact, it's even more excessive than the state of Zhao. They don't leave anyone alive. You don't have to be polite with them. You must also destroy the Zunv Pavilion. I've been thinking of a way. If we can avoid the Zunv Pavilion and rescue the people from the front, it will be very difficult. We can either do as the Zunv Pavilion did and fall into their trap, or we can lure them out and find a place for them to fall into our trap. This will make it easier to rescue the people. The latter is a good method. We can lure them out and lead them step by step into our trap. This is also not easy. The Zhuotian realm is vast, and it's easy to find a place. However, it's almost impossible to lure them out and make them fall into our trap. In other words, we need a reason to make the Zunv Pavilion fall into our trap and follow our plan step by step. A reason. They could turn the tables and lead the Zunv Pavilion by the nose, leading them into the trap and saving the people. Suddenly, the few of them spoke one after another. When they spoke out their thoughts, they suddenly felt that they had found a breakthrough. Su Yaotian warned, "Fanger, this reason might be the real thing that the Zunv Pavilion is plotting. Find out what they want and then grab hold of their weakness. This way, they will have no choice but to be led by the nose by you." Su Fang slowly held his breath. The Zunv Pavilion ultimately wants to obtain the Xianjia Gate. The Xianjia Gate. They are really ambitious. The Xianjia Gate is a peerless treasure that even the Zhuotian Realm's Realm Lord and many other experts can't shake. They actually want to obtain it. There's a way. Su Fang suddenly stood up and brought the three of them out of the Spirit Sex ruins. They flew from the Spirit Sex ruins to the Outer Region Islands. The flying celestial island in the depths of the Outer Region Islands was where the Xianjia Gate was located. After about an hour, the four of them arrived in the sky above the Outer Region Islands. Looking down, they couldn't see the Xianjia Gate at all. The depths of the island were either mountains or forests. In the center, there was a spiraling cloud that covered the sky. Su Yaotian was concerned. Fang Er, what's your plan? Doesn't the Zunv Pavilion want to obtain the Xianjia Gate? Su Fang looked at the three of them, his eyes filled with killing intent. Then I'll give them what they want. I'll make a deal with the Zunv Pavilion inside the Xianjia Gate and let them bring their people into the Xianjia Gate. Then I'll tell them the secret of the Xianjia Gate. Enter the Xianjia Gate. Even Hua Qianji trembled. Although he was a peerless big shot in the immortal primordial domains Doichi, with his knowledge, he naturally knew how powerful the Zhuotian realm's Xianjia Gate was. He heard that once one entered the Xianjia Gate, there was no chance of coming out. What's your plan? Li Ziqing couldn't understand. Senior, this time, if I want to save people, I'll have to pay a certain price. Otherwise, the Zunv Pavilion won't fall for it. Instead, if I anger them, I'm worried that my people will be in danger. Hence, my plan is to let them enter the Xianjia Gate and make a deal. I'll brag about the secret of the Xianjia Gate in front of them. It's all for the sake of saving people. Even so, you'll still be trapped inside the Xianjia Gate. The Zunv Pavilion won't let you leave. Isn't it useless? Junior knows that they won't let me leave. Hence, I can only barge into the immortal formation inside. You're thinking of a new way to enter the Xianjia Gate. This method is undoubtedly suicide. It wasn't easy for you to come out of the Xianjia Gate. If you go back in now, you won't be as lucky as the last time. Wouldn't you be locked inside for life? Only now did Li Ziqing know what Su Fang's method was. He had been imprisoned in the Xianjia Gate for thousands of years. After countless years of despair, he finally came out alive. Thinking about it, he went back in. His whole body was covered in cold sweat. Junior feels that since I was able to come out last time, I'll be able to come out alive again this time. Furthermore, this is the only way to save people and, Su Fang's eyes flashed with killing intent. I can also lure the Zunv Pavilion's experts into the Xianjia Gate and kill them one by one. The Xianjia Gate is my blessed land. Any ordinary person will be shackled, but it doesn't affect me too much. As long as I enter the Xianjia Gate, even heartless grandma will be easily killed by me. This method can save people and also severely damage the Zunv Pavilion. You're gambling with your future and the lives of your people. Li Ziqing shook his head and firmly objected. Su Yaotian suddenly patted Su Fang's shoulder. It's not that I don't agree with you. I just want to tell you that I'll face any decision you make with you, even if it's to enter the Xianjia Gate. You father and son. Seeing this, Li Ziqing felt like dying. Su Yaotian murmured and smiled. Senior, you're right. We are father and son. Father and son are connected, and their strength can cut through metal. This time, I won't leave my son and take the risk alone. Even if I can't help, I'll stand by Fang Er's side at all times. Chapter 655. Su Fang suddenly turned around and knelt down in front of Su Yaotian with teary eyes. Father, your son is unfilial. This time, your son doesn't have much confidence. I would rather die in glory than live in dishonor. Zunv Pavilion has gone too far. They are not giving you a way to live. Su Yaotian helped Su Fang up and was filled with anger. They have gone too far. They have forced my son to have no choice. Since this is the case, let's perish together. Father, your son thinks so too. Zunv Pavilion thinks that they can control everything by capturing our clansmen. I want them to know what the price is. For so many years, your father has not had the chance to accompany you for a long time. Your father hopes that this will be the only chance. I hope that we can fight our way out. Even if we cannot survive, your father will be satisfied. Your son will do his best to find a way out. The father and son had the same thought. If they were to die, they would die together. However, Su Yaotian believed that his son could survive in the end. Su Fang also believed that he could fight his way out. Therefore, they both believed that they would survive this time. In the end, Li Ziqing also compromised and made up his mind to follow Su Fang into the Xianjia Gate again. To him, this was not an easy decision to make. As for Hua Qianji, he stayed outside the Flying Immortal Island and was prepared to receive the three at any time. The four of them arrived outside the Scarlet Firmament continent. Su Yaotian suddenly stared at the vast land. Fang the Celestial Sealing Sect is also your enemy. Why don't you use this opportunity to lure all your enemies into the Xianjia Gate and eliminate them one by one? This, Su Fang suddenly exclaimed and immediately patted his head. That's right. He was so focused on rescuing his clansmen and dealing with the Zunv Pavilion that he forgot about this. One had to know that he did not only have one enemy in the Zhuotian realm. There was still the Celestial Sealing Sect. Su Yaotian and Li Ziqing only saw Su Fang lowering his head and pondering. His face would occasionally reveal a smile. Both of them knew that Su Fang must have a plan in mind. Father, thank you for reminding me. Otherwise, I would have wasted this great opportunity. This is the best opportunity for me to get rid of a strong enemy. I reckon that this is the only chance I have. Su Fang came back to his senses. After spending another hour with the three of them, they arrived at the Snowstorm continent. Standing at the top of the snowy mountain, the Zunv Pavilion was right in front of them. My enemies are not only the Zunv Pavilion and the Celestial Sealing Sect, but also the Green Lotus Sword Sect, Doichi, and the Xinyuan Empire. These forces more or less want to get the Xianjia Gate. Compared to the Zunv Pavilion, the one I want to deal with the most is the Xinyuan Empire. They have taken over the mortal emperor world. Naturally, you want to get rid of them first. Then, you will lead the mortal emperor world to the mysterious deep space. Only then can you peacefully merge with them and become the true world lord. Senior's words are exactly what I was thinking. The Xinyuan Empire has also been eyeing the Xianjia Gate for a long time. They are too greedy and want everything. This time, I can use this opportunity to lure the experts of the Xinyuan Empire into the Celestial Sealing Sect. Once they enter the Xianjia Gate, it will be easy to deal with them. It won't be like the Heavenly Gourd domain where both sides suffered losses. Then let the Xinyuan Empire, Doichi, Green Lotus Sword Sect, and other forces know that you want to enter the Xianjia Gate. Simple. Hua Qianji, immediately go to the Spirit Mist domain. There are many forces in the richly lush continent. Secretly sell the news to them. Then, go to the Immortal Primordial domain and use the same method. Let the Doichi and the Xinyuan Empire know. This round trip will take 3 years. I understand. Hua Qianji immediately bowed. Su Fang reminded, it will be inconvenient for you to return to the Immortal Primordial domain. You can let Li Haojie and the others go with you. You have to be careful too. Many thanks for Master's concern. As for the content, you can tell those powers the truth about how Xian and Yu Pavilion exterminated my Su clan's clansmen and how they used our clansmen to threaten me. I want to expose the true face of Xian and Yu Pavilion in front of everyone. This is forcing me to a dead end. If I don't have a good life, they can forget about having a good life too. Since that's the case, I'll go now. Hua Qianji immediately flew towards the ruins of the Spirit Sect. He would use the mystical door of the Supreme God Sect to travel. In a month, he would reach the Spirit Mist domain. In less than a year, he would be back in the immortal primordial domain. By then, the news would spread throughout this small world. I want to destroy the reputation of the Xuanv Pavilion. I want it to be condemned by everyone. Su Feng, Su Yaotian, and Li Ziqing looked at the distant land of ice and snow. Next, I have to sneak into the Xianjia door and make some preparations. I'll stay outside and gather information. Li Ziqing nodded. I'll have to trouble Senior. Now, I'll release a young nascent soul to the Xuanv Pavilion and tell them that I've returned to the Zhuotian domain. He released a barrier and hid his aura. Buzz. Not long after, a rune talisman flew into the depths. In the depths of the land of ice and snow, Xian Nyu Pavilion was like a huge ice and snow continent, floating in the cold and windy sky. Chi. The rune talisman suddenly pierced through the air and hit the Xuanv Pavilion's defense. Whoosh, whoosh. A large number of experts flew out. They were all in the catastrophe realm. There were even a few feather transformation realm experts. It's not an ordinary barrier. A few feather transformation realm experts controlled the rune talisman and were shocked. They thought that someone had barged into the Xuanv Pavilion. But it was obviously not. Buzz. Another door appeared. Zhang Sun Ying, Xuanzhen Nun, and a group of elders appeared outside the barrier. When Zhang Sun Ying carefully activated the rune talisman, Su Feng's cold voice suddenly exploded. Xuanv Pavilion, listen carefully. I, Su Feng, have come to the Zhuotian domain as promised. You must not hurt my people. If you torture my people, I'll fight you to the death. At most, I won't save them, but I won't let you get the Xianjia door. I do have the secret of the Xianjia door in my hands. It's Su Feng. All the experts were stunned. He's finally here. Some elders smiled. Their smiles were cold and greedy. After a short discussion, Zhang Sun Ying activated the rune talisman from Su Feng. If you're obedient and hand over the secret of the Xianjia door, we won't harm your people or deal with you. Of course, you have to return Aozhen to us. Aozhen is one of the two saintesses of your Xuanv Pavilion. Su Feng's voice in the rune talisman said in a surprised tone, I'm sorry. She came to kill me but was suppressed by me. Now, she has become the dual cultivation made of a friend of mine. I'm really sorry. I didn't do it on purpose. Damn it. Kill. Kill. Every disciple of the Xuanv Pavilion, including every elder present, heard such a result. Which one of them didn't have the thought of tearing Su Feng into pieces? A saintess of a generation had actually become his female slave. Su Feng's scornful laughter came from the rune talisman again. I, Su Feng, am not a fool. I won't come to your Xuanv Pavilion for nothing and tell you about the Xianjia door. I think you have already arranged the means to kill me. When I show up, I'm afraid I'll end up without a corpse on the spot. Why don't you think that you, a dignified righteous sect, actually killed countless mortals and weak cultivators? What's the difference between you and an evil sect? In order to protect myself, you have to get the Xianjia door, and I also have to survive and save my people. I have to choose the place of the transaction. It's negotiable, Xuanzhen Nun responded coldly to the rune talisman. Xuanzhen Nun, right? I'm sorry. If you don't agree, then I won't care about the lives of my people anymore. Anyway, I'll treat them as if they're buried in that small territory with my family Su Empire. It's no big deal. But you'll lose the Xianjia door. Do you know why the Celestial Sealing Sect wants to kill me? It's because I have the real secret of the Xianjia door. How do we know if the secret is real or not? We'll make a deal face to face. Are you afraid that I'll lie to you? Listen up. The location of the deal this time is inside the Xianjia door. I'll tell you the secret. After exchanging our people, you can go find your treasures, and I'll leave with my people. Xianjia door. The experts of the Xuanv Pavilion weren't shocked or surprised. They never thought that the Su Feng would propose to make a deal at the Xianjia door. The elders of the Zunv pavilion took the opportunity to communicate secretly. After a while, each of the elders had a dominating smile on their faces. Zhang Suning said, "You're not afraid of the Xianjia door. Could it be that my Zunv pavilion is afraid? We'll agree to your request. When will the deal be made inside the Xianjia door?" 5 years from today, in the outer space of the Xianjia door. Keep this rune talisman well. When the rune talisman moves, even if I appear, you'll have to prepare to release my people. Okay. Buzz. The rune talisman trembled and stopped moving. It was sealed by a group of elders in the air. In an instant, an elder led more than 100 experts and quietly walked towards the snowy plains. The other elders returned to the depths of the Core Dao Hall in the blink of an eye. Heartless Grandma and the 5 elders finally appeared. These 5 elders were also women. Each of them was around 40 years old. There was also an extremely young one who was not even 30 years old. One had to know that the Celestial Sealing Sect only had 2 elders, but the Zunv Pavilion had 5. It could be seen the difference between the 2 forces. More elders rushed over. There were a total of more than 40 elders. Heartless Grandma signaled everyone to be quiet. After waiting for several years, Su Fang finally came to the Zhuotian realm. This kid is indeed the kind of cultivator who values friendship and righteousness. This is his biggest weakness. Among the 5 elders, the youngest elder, who was less than 30 years old, said in public, "Grandma, this kid used the Xianjia door as a transaction. I've carefully checked this person's past. When he was training in the Celestial Sealing Sect, he was publicly punished by the Celestial Sealing Sect's disciple, Prince Shui. He had no choice but to take the initiative to escape into the Xianjia door to take refuge. Therefore, he had the opportunity to leave the Xianjia door alive with exalted Master Yuezhen. According to this person will probably do the same thing as back then. He will trade with us in the Xianjia door, then take his people into the Xianjia door again and use the Xianjia door to escape our pursuit. I don't reject this kid's idea of fighting to the death. Thinking about it this way, his choice is the most suitable for the current situation. He knows that we won't let him go, so he wants to use the Xianjia door to trade with us, then take his people and escape into the Xianjia door. After Heartless Grandma heard this, she analyzed carefully while everyone was exclaiming, "This kind of choice of fighting to the death is not good for him or for us. But think about it, why would he take such a dangerous step?" All of the elders were confused. Another elder in his 40s said majestically, "Grandma means that Su Fang must be like the legend, holding the secret of the Xianjia door. He took this dangerous step. It seems like he was forced into a corner, but in fact, he has a certain degree of confidence. Because he knows the secret, he knows that if he enters the immortal formation space in the depths of the Xianjia door, he will still have a chance to escape from the Xianjia door like last time. So that's how it is. What a cunning kid." After analyzing the situation, the elders and the first elder came to a realization. They felt that Su Fang was not simple and difficult to deal with. A catastrophe realm cultivator actually had such a meticulous plan and thought. Chapter 656. The upper echelons of Zunv Pavilion gathered. After a discussion, Heartless Grandma issued a decree. Su Fang wants 5 years. He probably wants to sneak into Xianjia's gate during this time and make preparations secretly. We cannot give him 5 years. It's best if we can suppress him as soon as possible. Look, please move. Zhang Suning nodded. I understand. Immediately send experts to Xianjia's gate secretly. Once we find Su Fang's whereabouts, we will definitely suppress him. This person is not easy to deal with. He's very cunning. If we can really find him, it's best to hide our identities and attack him. If he learns of our intentions, it will be even more difficult for us to deal with him in the future. He won't leave his clansmen for us to kill. I'll personally arrange this matter. The rest of you, immediately gather experts and arrange for hundreds of feather transformation realm disciples to go to Xianjia's gate to suppress Su Fang. We cannot fail again. Yes. Heartless grandma's reprimand was treated as an imperial decree. No one dared to be careless. Outside Zunv Pavilion. You want to find me? A strange distorted light flashed past some Zunv Pavilion disciples who were flying at a low altitude. The aura quickly left the snow-wind continent. Su Fang, Li Ziqing, and Su Yaotian appeared. They could vaguely see the crimson sky continent in the distance. 9 segments Earth Dragon. A big goblin appeared in front of Su Fang. Su Fang ordered the 9 segments Earth Dragon, you also go to the Spirit Sect ruins. Hide your identity and secretly wait for my decree. After I give the signal, you will secretly sell the agreement between me and Zunv Pavilion to all the major forces in the Zhuotian domain. The more people know, the better. The 9 segments Earth Dragon obeyed the order and left. This way, the Celestial Sealing Sect would also know about this in the future and would definitely rush to Xianjia's gate. Then, the 3 of them quickly arrived at the extraterritorial islands from the water region. When they arrived at the flying Celestial Island again, they felt the familiar scenes from their previous experience appear in their mind. The extraterritorial islands were indeed the biggest natural stronghold in the Zhuotian domain. They could sense that there were hundreds of thousands of cultivators hiding in different places, secretly searching for treasures. The outer perimeter was filled with cultivators below the catastrophe realm, while the inner perimeter of the island was filled with cultivators above the catastrophe realm. Xianjia Gate. After passing through layers of mist, they arrived at the depths of the Flying Deity Island. A huge silver saint light that looked like the projection of a sailboat stood on the ground. Xianjia Gate. Li Ziqing fell into a state of shock. The divine light in his eyes flickered continuously. In the past, he had been trapped for thousands of years and had finally escaped with great difficulty. Who would have thought that after 100 years, he would return to this place? Similarly, Su Fang sighed incomparably. But to him, this scene was just brought forward. Su Fang sighed inwardly. I always believed that Senior Green Feather King was not dead. From the moment I left Xianjia Gate, I made up my mind to come back if I had the chance. I would enter the depths of the immortal design and confirm whether Senior Green Feather King was dead or alive. Even if he was dead, I would bring his body out. I didn't expect there to be so many cultivators here. They dream about obtaining treasures all day long, but they don't know that Xianjia's gate is the Hall of Hell. The 3 of them hid their auras, and Su Fang changed his appearance. They gradually arrived at the entrance of Xianjia Gate. There were thousands of cultivators resting in the surroundings. There were also some who had flown into Xianjia Gate. They knew how dangerous this place was, but it did not stop them from rushing over to obtain treasures. Whoosh! After entering Xianjia Gate, the world was completely different. They could not sense the aura of the Zhuotian realm. The space here felt boundless. Su Fang could sense that it was still a mysterious immortal design. Just like back then, he still could not see through the space inside. The only thing that was better was that with his great circle cultivation, his perception surpassed all other cultivators. He was so weak in the past, but now he had the strength of a small world. He still could not see through Xianjia Gate. 3 more people have flown in here. They're courting death. Not necessarily. Their cultivation bases are not high, but if they're lucky, they might encounter a storm inside the immortal design and blow out some treasures. Luck doesn't come every day. When the 3 of them were forced to land on the ground by the pressure, many of the surrounding cultivators were paying attention to them. They were full of mockery and ridicule. As for Su Yaotian, every cultivator here was an expert he could not defeat. He felt like he had come to a world of experts. Su Yaotian was shocked. What a terrifying Xianjia Gate. Fang if it weren't for you, I wouldn't have been able to fly. It would have been difficult for me to take a step out of this immortal design. The three of them advanced towards the five people. They were temporarily walking. When they arrived at a place full of immortal clouds, Su Fang sucked Su Yaotian into the Xian Huang Six Paths Pagoda. Su Fang and Li Ziqing immediately flew forward. Their speed was not as fast as normal, but they could still reach the level of an imperishable realm cultivator. They encountered many white bones. Some of the white bones moved slowly with the movement of immortal qi. It felt like mountains of corpses were moving. It was indeed the Yama Palace. There were probably no less than 100,000 cultivators who had died in the outer immortal design. After a few hours, the two of them finally arrived at the second layer of the immortal design. It was a space that blended with the outer immortal design. This was the barrier to the inner immortal design. Just like when they first came here, many cultivators were trapped in front of the second layer of the immortal design. They were unwilling to leave just like that. If they were not resting, they were waiting. A small number of people were activating the immortal design. The remaining people were looking for treasures among the white bones. Not far away, there were still cultivators fighting each other. The two of them passed by some cultivators. Li Ziqing asked, "What exactly do you want to do?" "The Zunv Pavilion is here. When they make a deal with me, they will definitely attack me immediately and imprison me in the immortal design. What I need to do now is to find a hidden place and leave a formation in the second layer of the immortal design. It can increase my speed by several times. Before the Zunv Pavilion starts chasing me, I will be able to escape into the second layer of the immortal design. This is not difficult for you. You cultivate an immortal cultivation technique. You just need to use the power of the immortal Tao to refine a shuttle rune talisman and hide it near the immortal design to form a barrier. I will need Senior's help for this. This is a small matter. Forming a shuttle formation is not difficult. The key is that you can control the power of the immortal Tao and refine the rune talisman with the immortal Tao aura." The two of them communicated secretly along the way. They did not stop searching in the immortal design. Finally, they stopped in a space where immortal clouds and immortal qi were especially abundant. The immortal design here was clearly different. The immortal qi here was especially thick. Moreover, the area covered by the immortal clouds was very vast. Most likely, cultivators would not dare to rashly enter the depths of this space. The two of them entered and once again saw a large number of white bones. Some of them were corpses, and the air was filled with a foul stench. A few miles in was the second layer of the immortal design. This immortal design was erected here. As long as a cultivator had the strength of a catastrophe realm cultivator, they could enter the immortal design. "Kid, I will protect you." Li Ziqing came to the periphery and hid among the piles of bones. Su Fang immediately formed a seal and used the illusory fire cloud, the ethereal true record, and the limitless Tao art. Then, according to the ethereal true record, he began to absorb the surrounding immortal qi. After a few months, Su Fang finally managed to control a small amount of immortal qi. He went one step deeper and used the divine image jade annulus. The Tao artifact's divine power and ability exploded. Following the immortal qi controlled by Su Fang, it came into contact with the second layer of the immortal design. He did not expect that the immortal design could even block the power of the divine image jade annulus. Inside the divine aperture, Yura was shocked. "Master, this Xianjia gate is too scary. Most of Yu's abilities and divine power were blocked by the immortal design. He is unable to use them." "Don't worry." Next, he calmed himself down and cooperated with the Tao artifact. He secretly combined his abilities with the Tao artifact's abilities and continuously fused them into the second layer of the immortal design. In addition to the immortal qi that came from the Xianjia gate, after about half a year, he finally found the weak point of the immortal design through the divine image jade annulus. He absorbed the immortal qi to form runes and implanted the runes that contained immortal qi into the weak point. After a while, he managed to form dozens of runes. Li Ziqing came to the side and took these runes. He began to take out some special spirit stones and used his great ability to inject all kinds of complicated hand seals into the runes. Just as the two of them were concentrating on setting up the array at the outer immortal design of the Xianjia Gate. Have you seen this cultivator come in? Some of the cultivators in the Catastrophe Realm, and even the Ascension Realm, who were dressed normally, took out runes and activated one of the figures to ask the cultivators. They asked many people, but none of them had seen the figure inside the runes. Strange, did Su Fang not come in? Don't jump to conclusions yet. The elders said that this person is extremely cunning. He might have already hidden his identity and changed his appearance to go near the second layer of the immortal design. Everyone, go deeper. If you really see Su Fang, don't alert him. About 30 people were looking for the whereabouts of Su Fang. These people were naturally the high-level disciples of the Green Lotus Sword sect. They were secretly looking for the whereabouts of Su Fang. It was difficult to sense him in the Xianjia Gate. They could only rely on this primitive method to find him in the vast immortal design world, in the distant primordial god world. What? Your Highness already knows? In the depths of the vast imperial palace. In the main hall, the current great Emperor Dipper had actually become a young man who was not even 30 years old. This was the great Emperor Dipper after his reincarnation. Although he was young, his strength was also very shocking. He was surrounded by experts protecting him. Prince Shui was sitting below with several experts. Prince Shui immediately informed the great Emperor Dipper of the news that Su Fang had appeared in the Zhuotian realm and wanted to cooperate with the Zunv Pavilion in the Xianjia Gate. Who knew that the great Emperor Dipper was not surprised at all? He nodded majestically. We have already secretly received this news. This king is preparing to send people to the Zhuotian realm. Prince Shui was full of shame. This subordinate also did not know that it was Su Fang and the 5 Poison Divine sect that caused your Highness to lose a physical body in the Tianhu domain. This subordinate was too careless, and Su Fang and the 5 Poison Divine sect took advantage of the loophole, causing your Highness to lose your physical body. It doesn't matter. This king has been thinking of ways to catch Su Fang and obtain the Xianjia Gate. This kid called Su Fang is very capable and his strength is too shocking. Even this king almost died in his hands. Your Highness, Su Fang and the Zunv Pavilion made a deal. I'm afraid that the secret of the Xianjia Gate that Su Fang kept is most likely to fall into the hands of the Zunv Pavilion. Zunv Pavilion is intercepted by the Zhuotian realm in the galaxy. It's really inconvenient. Crown Prince, this time this king will let the Empire send a large number of experts to disguise themselves as cultivators of the Zhuotian realm and kill their way into the Xianjia Gate. They will capture Su Fang alive and find out the secret of the Xianjia Gate. This time, I will still have to trouble you to lead the way. This subordinate will definitely serve your Highness with all his might. Recently, the Empire and the 5 Poison Divine sect have been at war several times. It is difficult to completely destroy them. There are endless troubles. If we can obtain the secret of the Xianjia Gate, it will be a great joy. At that time, I will recommend you to the Emperor and let him guide you to become an immortal. Thank you, Your Highness. Immediately let the Empire's Internal Affairs Department instruct at least 1,000 experts. All of them are in the feather transformation realm. This king wants them to come out within half a year and reach the Zhuotian realm within a year. This subordinate will do it right away. It seemed that this time, the great Emperor Dipper was very determined and confident to capture Su Fang and obtain the secret of the Xianjia Gate. Chapter 657. Xianjia Gate. It took more than 3 years for Su Fang and Li Ziqing to set up a teleportation array in the depths of the immortal array. To be able to set up this array in the space of the immortal array, it was incredible for the two of them. Inside the immortal array, the Tao treasure was the main force. It was not a mortal world, and any energy could not be absorbed or controlled by mortals. Once the power of the great world entered the mortal body, the high-level power would break the meridians and devour the vital energy. After entering the body, the cultivator would not be able to refine it. In the end, the cultivator would not be able to absorb and cultivate, and would die of old age like a mortal, turning into dust. Of course, there were also mortals who could control some of the power of the great world. For example, the desolate physique, Yun Fu Xin, Huang Lingyao, Shui Wuying. There was also a powerful force with a shocking inheritance, Doiqi. Even if Doiqi cultivated the limitless Tao from the great world, it did not completely follow the mantra of the great world. Instead, it integrated the laws and power of the small world and changed it. It mainly absorbed the power of the great world, supplemented by the aura of the great world. Only then could it have a certain amount of the immortal qi of the great world. Su Fang could control the immortal qi of the Tao treasure in the immortal array this time. It was probably related to his perfect body and the celestial image jade annulus. The array has been set up. Senior, I think you and Hua Qianji should wait outside the Xianjia gate. I will enter the Tao treasure alone. This will make things easier. After all, the interior of the Tao treasure is extremely dangerous. If we encounter immortals or some terrifying immortal array, it will be difficult to survive. After leaving the immortal cloud, Su Fang and Li Ziqing slowly approached the entrance of the immortal array. Moreover, once we leave the Xianjia gate, we might be surrounded by cultivators. We will need help. Li Ziqing nodded, showing the calmness of an old antique. I will act according to your plan. There is no harm in entering the Tao treasure. Since you asked me to wait outside, you must have your reasons. The Zunv Pavilion, the Celestial Sealing Sect, the Green Lotus Sword Sect, and even the Doiqi and the Xinyuan Empire seem to be invincible. However, as long as we enter the celestial formation inside, they are just a bunch of clay chickens and pottery dogs. We can deal with them however we want. Of course, I'll have to trouble you, Senior. When the time is up, please secretly spread the news that I've entered the depths of the Xianjia gate and that I'm hiding all the secrets inside. Whoever can catch me will get the secrets. If this news were to spread out, I'm afraid more than half of the cultivators would rush into the immortal Zhan gate, especially the forces that want to kill you. Li Ziqing did not expect Su Fang to stir up such a huge storm this time. At that time, how many cultivators and forces would charge in? I can't do anything to them outside, but after entering the Tao artifact world, those tigers and wolves are just a bunch of weak chickens in front of me. After the two of them finished talking, when they were about to reach the entrance, Su Fang had already used his perfect sensing power and found the masters of the Green Lotus Sword sect lurking in the cultivator's sun. He turned into an ordinary cultivator and left the immortal Zhan gate, returning to nature as if he was reincarnated. Being in the immortal Zhan gate was like being trapped in an underground cave, unable to see light. His body and mind were shrouded in fear, and he lived in oppression at all times. Landing in the crowd, Li Ziqing followed the plan and left alone first. Su Fang activated the rune talisman and contacted the 9-section Earth Dragon and Hua Qianji. Hua Qianji was at the periphery of the Outer Realm Islands, while the 9-section Earth Dragon was hiding near the flying Immortal Island. Not long after, he met the 9-section Earth Dragon in the forest. After absorbing it into his body, he quietly cultivated in the forest. There were less than 2 years left. Su Fang wanted to strive to step into the 7th stage of the Calamity Realm from the 6th stage of the Calamity Realm during this time. This time, he was forced into a corner by the Zunv Pavilion. He could foresee the future situation. If he didn't use the immortal Zhan gate, then Heartless Grandma and the other Zunv Pavilion masters would definitely set up an inescapable net. With his current cultivation, it was impossible to contend against the Zunv Pavilion. Then, as long as he was forced into a desperate situation, he would once again enter the immortal formation space deep within the immortal Jean Gate. Since that was the case, if he became stronger, then it would be easier to deal with the cultivators in the Tao treasure world. He ferociously absorbed the essence of the heavenly gourd spirit tree from the flaming cloud spirit gourd. His body was also constantly refining the essence spirit vein and various spiritual items. His overall strength was constantly increasing. He began to use the 100 acupoints finger technique to attack again and again. Because of the essence of the heavenly gourd spirit tree and the origin essence spirit, Su Fang absorbed the energy of heaven and earth in the Zhuotian realm at an indescribable speed. Even those great elders were 10 times faster than him. The only ones who could stand shoulder to shoulder with him were probably the Master of the Dark Forest and Master Heiyun, who controlled large amounts of origin. Therefore, his cultivation speed had reached an unprecedented level. After all, the essence of the heavenly gourd spirit tree was a high-level power formed over countless years. Master. A few months later, just as Su Fang was about to reach the peak, the voice of a young infant flashed in his mind. Exalted Cultivator Yuezhen. He urgently transmitted his voice. This time, the Celestial Sealing Sect will send Taoist Wuzhen and several elders, as well as hundreds of Feather Transformation Realm high-level disciples to the Immortal Zhan Gate to snatch Master from the Zunv Pavilion. And this time, this subordinate is taking the lead. It seems like the Celestial Sealing Sect can no longer tolerate this subordinate. They want me to enter the Immortal Zhan Gate and take the lead for them. Su Fang was silent for a moment. It's good that the great elders are personally taking action. Taoist Wuzhen, you should follow the Celestial Sealing Sect's decree and lead them into the Immortal Zhan Gate. It's best to bewitch everyone into the Immortal Formation inside, because I also plan to use the Immortal Formation inside to avoid their pursuit. You and I are taking risks in the Tao treasure world again. Entering the Tao treasure world, it's not you and I who will be pursued, but them who will be suppressed by us. You have to think clearly, Master. This subordinate can enter the Immortal Zhan Gate again. It's fine if I get trapped inside, but if Master goes in, you will also get trapped inside. It doesn't matter. I feel like the Immortal Zhan Gate is my blessed land. When I was forced to enter, I obtained a large amount of treasures, as well as an immortal corpse. That corpse has always been with me and everyone else. This is immortal fate. The Celestial Sealing Sect no longer trusts this subordinate. After this incident, this subordinate will follow Master. Prince Shui failed to seize the Heavenly Gourd Spirit Tree. In the Heavenly Gourd domain, countless experts from the Celestial Sealing Sect died. Have the 3 Path of Venerated Disciples taken any further action? They haven't. Recently, the 3 Path of Venerated Disciples have either left the sect or gone into seclusion. For example, Prince Shui went out to train somewhere, and so did Huang Lingyao. Only Xing Chongxing is at the training ground. I reckon that Prince Shui knows where I am and ran to the Xinyuan Empire to ask for credit from the great Emperor Dipper. Huang Lingyao is the same. Who knows, they might be leading experts from the Green Lotus Sword Sect to Flying Immortal Island. Let's not talk about it anymore. Just wait for the Celestial Sealing Sect's decree. We'll meet again in the Immortal Formation inside. The exalted Master Yuezhen's consciousness disappeared. It was easy to have his own spies in the Celestial Sealing Sect. At least, he knew that the 2 Path of Venerated Disciples had most likely gone to ask for credit from their respective masters. They thought that by letting the exalted Master Yuezhen take the lead and enter the Immortal Zhan Gate, they would feel that entering the Immortal Zhan Gate would be more daunting than dangerous. They didn't know that the person behind the scenes was not the exalted Master Yuezhen. 1 year left. Su Fang activated his instant space ring. In less than half an hour, he arrived at the ruins of the spirit sect from the extraterritorial islands. He wanted to find a place to undergo his tribulation, but he didn't expect to meet a large number of experts from the Supreme God sect. So he hid his aura and used his great perfection stage ability to spy from afar. He found that tens of thousands of experts from the Supreme God sect were like a red wave, moving toward the extraterritorial islands with an evil aura. Among them, there were more than 2,000 experts in the Ascension realm, and there seemed to be many higher-ups of the Supreme God sect. Obviously, the Supreme God sect had also received the news that they were going to the Immortal Jean Gate to snatch it halfway. The Supreme God sect probably knows that I'm the enemy who cooperated with them to sell the impotence pill. Since you're also targeting me, I welcome you. In a breath's time, he arrived at a ruined island. This was the island where he had undergone his heavenly tribulation before. The big goblin was hibernating underwater and in the sky. He removed the defense of his physical body. In an instant, the heavenly tribulation began to appear. I have the Black Lotus true body in my body. Under normal circumstances, it's protected and sealed by the flesh fetus divine armor. 7-star child can't sense it from afar. Once I undergo my tribulation, my aura will explode. I wonder if 7-star child will personally come to the Zhuotian realm after sensing it. Is an immortal like him also greedy for the Immortal Jean Gate? If 7-star child comes to the Immortal Jean Gate, it'll be like catching a turtle in a jar. Even an immortal will be shackled after entering the Immortal Jean Gate. At that time, it'll be impossible for him to kill me, but I'll have some confidence in killing him. Not long after, the first wave of heavenly tribulation descended from the surging heavenly tribulation. This time, Su Fang had to undergo 7 waves of tribulation. It was truly terrifying. If it were any other cultivator, it would definitely be difficult for them to pass. In order to save time, he directly used a powerful attack. He directly shattered the first wave of tribulation with a direct attack. Then, the second and third waves of tribulation were shattered in the same way. Finally, the 7th wave of tribulation. After resisting the waves of tribulation, the island once again turned into ruins. Its overall area was reduced by half. 7 black heavenly tribulation storms appeared in the dark clouds in the sky. They swept through the clouds and fell down. They seemed to be destroyed, but after Su Fang flew out, he used a fiery cloud-like palm technique. The fiery cloud-like palm swept through the sky and instantly shattered the 7 waves of tribulation. The heavenly tribulation immediately shattered. In front of Su Fang's powerful strength, the 7 waves of tribulation were like a jar, completely collapsing and collapsing. Then, a familiar gentle tribulation aura descended from the sky. I don't have a golden core. I'm a void dust. I never would have thought that my cultivation speed would be so shocking even without a golden core. It seems I've already broken through those legendary impossibilities. His physical body began to shatter, and he advanced from the 6th wave to the 7th wave. His perfection Black Lotus physical body transformed once more. It began to undergo indescribable changes. After the flesh forest shattered, a large amount of the heavenly gourd spirit tree's recovery ability fused with the perfection Black Lotus physical body, causing it to rapidly recover. This time, my perfection Black Lotus physical body has perfectly fused with the heavenly gourd spirit tree's ability. Now, my perfection Black Lotus physical body is at the same level as an ancient perfection Black Lotus physical body. My perfection Black Lotus physical body and the heavenly gourd spirit tree have fused with my perfection Black Lotus physical body. It's already an extraordinary perfection Black Lotus physical body. Unfortunately, I was unable to fuse with the 5 poisons physical body back then. If I had fused with it, perhaps the heavens have their own reasons for not letting me fuse with it. Half a year later, Sitting on the ruined island, Su Fang didn't look weak at all. After breaking through to the 7th wave, his strength had greatly increased. The tribulation aura within his body was on the verge of erupting. This was a phenomenon that could only erupt when one's cultivation reached a high level of the calamity realm. Xinyuan Empire, Doichi, you are my greatest enemies. I don't care about Zunv Pavilion, but you must kill without restraint. You have to be impolite to me. Then I'll be even more impolite to you. Su Fang leaped up. Looking at the island that was about to disappear, he immediately flew towards the outer realm island. Who would have thought that he would encounter some experts midway? They were also flying towards Flying Immortal Island in groups of 3 to 5. These experts had also heard the news and were heading towards Xianjia Gate to try their luck or to watch the show. Chapter 658. Returning to the Waishui Islands, Su Fang saw cultivators flying towards the Xianjia Gate near the sky above the flying celestial island. Look, please move. When he arrived at the Xianjia Gate, Su Fang actually sensed the aura of the Xinyuan Empire, Doichi, and Green Lotus Sword sect. He thought there would be immortals, but with the help of the divine image Jade Annulus, there was no immortal aura at all. 7-Star Child didn't come. It didn't make sense. When he quietly arrived at the forest boundary where the Green Lotus Sword sect cultivators were, he suddenly understood why 7-Star Child didn't come. Green Lotus Sword sect actually sent close to 10,000 cultivators to hide here. There were more than 3,000 Feather Transformation Realm cultivators, and several powerful and peerless auras. Good, good! I hope all of you can enter the Xianjia Gate, the more the better. However, Huang Lingyao isn't here. Is she not going to take this opportunity to deal with me? Looks like the Xianjia Gate is so scary that many cultivators stopped. 7-Star Child is one, Huang Lingyao is another, and Prince Shui's aura isn't here either. After sensing the situation of Green Lotus Sword sect from afar, he flew towards another place near the Xianjia Gate. Zunv Pavilion. They were hiding in a canyon less than 5 miles away from the Xianjia Gate. The surroundings were covered with complicated auras. Even if someone found them, they wouldn't dare to act rashly. This time, more than 30,000 disciples came to the Zunv Pavilion. Although he couldn't sense if Heartless Grandma's aura was here, there were obviously many elders. Zunv Pavilion had indeed put in a lot of effort. Tens of thousands of people were determined to catch Su Fang this time. He also quietly sensed the aura of the Celestial Sealing Sect. When he came to take a look, the Celestial Sealing Sect also had close to 20,000 disciples. Some of the elders he was familiar with were almost all here. He could also clearly sense the aura of Taoist Wuzhen and Exalted Master Yuezhen. Su Fang would let Exalted Master Yuezhen bewitch Taoist Wuzhen. When the time came, they would all kill their way into the immortal array, trapping them in the Tao artifact world. No matter how strong they were just a group of ants. He hurriedly asked Li Ziqing to release more information, spreading the secret that Su Fang possessed the true secret of the Xianjia Gate. Once this news came out, it spread like wildfire. Then, how many cultivators would dispel their fear of the Xianjia Gate and rush into the inner immortal formation? At the very least, none of the major powers would let go of this piece of news and exclude some people from entering the immortal formation. At this moment, Su Fang arrived at the Xinyuan Empire's camp. Surprisingly, there were quite a few members of the Crown Prince faction hiding among the crowd. There weren't many people from the Xinyuan Empire, only about 1,000 of them. However, all of them were at the 6th level of the Feather Transformation Realm. Such a frightening force. Doichi was hiding near the Xinyuan Empire. There were about a few hundred of them. They were probably here to cooperate with the Xinyuan Empire. They were all Feather Transformation Realm cultivators. After sensing for a while, there were quite a few major powers from the Zhuotian realm hiding around the Xianjia Gate. For example, the Supreme God Sect, Ziwei Star Sect, Zhenfa Sacred Sect, Lonely Heaven Mountain, Shenwu Sacred Mountain, Broken Sword Sect, Qingshan 10,000 Saints Sect, Twin Immortal Sect, Eternal Spring Immortal Sect, Blue Cloud Sect, Snow Saints Cave, Xiaoyao Sect, Myriad Treasures Sect, 100 Medicine Sect, and so on. There were also quite a number of demon path forces. Other than the well-known powers from the Zhuotian realm, the other powers from the small worlds had more or less sent 1,000 disciples to hide around. This was a mix of good and bad. A large number of powers were caught in the middle. In addition to the powers, there were also many wandering cultivators hiding in the dark. In the history of the Xianjia Gate, there was a rumor that someone could unlock its secret. It was rumored that the person who unlocked the secret could obtain the Xianjia Gate. How could they not come? The Xinyuan Empire and the Doichi realm were all here. What about the Beichen Zone, the Qilian Star, the Wu Tan realm, and the Lingmeng realm? With a rough calculation, it was estimated that at this time, there were no less than 1,000,000 cultivators gathered in the outer island. 1,000,000 cultivators. However, less than 1% of those who had the courage to enter the Xianjia Gate. Su Fang turned into an unfamiliar face and came to the entrance of the Xianjia Gate. He saw Catastrophe Realm and Feather Realm Giant. There were also many devils and big goblin hidden among them. Many disciples from the Zunv Pavilion and the Celestial Ceiling Sect were hiding among them. They were looking for his whereabouts. Everyone wanted to be the first to capture and suppress him and seize the opportunity. The internal formation was ready. Su Fang was not in a hurry to enter. Instead, he came to the Xinyuan Empire and continued to secretly let Li Ziqing pass on all kinds of information. Hiding 1,000 meters away, he released the power of the Great Perfection and penetrated the barrier of the Xinyuan Empire. There were more than 1,000 people inside, all of whom were Feather Realm Giant. It was too shocking. Gradually, he finally sensed a king's aura being released from the depths. His hearing condensed. It was a barrier. After a few days, someone spoke inside. An expert's voice sounded faintly. "Marquis, we have received a lot of information recently. Almost all of them say that Su Fang knows the secret of the Xianjia Gate. The cultivators here are all here to suppress this person. The Marquis asked me to come here for the Xianjia Gate. Since our empire wants to obtain the Xianjia Gate, we must suppress this Su Fang," the mysterious Marquis replied. This cultivator called Su Fang is not simple. Even the Marquis almost died in his hands. That was because the 5 Poison Sect had set an ambush. Pass down the order. It is almost time for the trade between Su Fang and the Zunv Pavilion. This time, no matter if it is the Zunv Pavilion or any other force, anyone who competes with us for Su Fang is our enemy and must be killed. Yes. Also tell the Doichi that we are about to take action. If they want to avenge Xingxiang Xing, they must cooperate with us. I will do it right away. The voice inside gradually disappeared. Su Fang also sensed a figure flying out of the barrier and quickly entering the Doichi's defense. Su Fang secretly activated the rune talisman and communicated with Lu Yuan. He wanted to know the origin of this Marquis and what his status was in the Xinyuan Empire. After about half a day, the rune talisman finally reacted. Lu Yuan's voice penetrated the spirit mist realm and entered the Zhuotian realm. There are many marquises in the Xinyuan Empire. There are only dead marquises. However, because the primordial god realm is vast, there are more than 1,000 marquises. There are only a few dozen people who are truly in power. In the depths of the rune talisman, Lu Yuan continued to transmit his thoughts. The Xinyuan Empire has always been spying on the Xianjia Gate. This matter is single-handedly handled by the great Emperor Dipper. Therefore, the Marquis sent here must be a Marquis who truly holds power. This person should be Marquis Qin Yuanhou. Marquis Qin Yuanhou is the most trusted Marquis of the great Emperor Dipper. 3 generations ago, Marquis Qin Yuanhou's ancestor was also a Marquis. Unfortunately, the Marquis later declined. I heard that the last Marquis died during a tribulation. Later, the dynasty conferred a new Marquis, and Marquis Qin Yuanho's title is hereditary. This Marquis Qin Yuanho has a territory rich in resources. He is one of the most important marquises in the Xinyuan Empire and the Great Emperor Dipper. He is also very powerful and is on par with the Great Emperor Dipper. Marquis Qin Yuanho, what a peerless expert! I have to find a way to let this Marquis Qin Yuanho into the inner immortal array. It's probably impossible. How can such a noble Marquis personally take the risk? Just like the Great Emperor Dipper, who is manipulating all this behind the scenes in the distant Xinyuan Empire. Su Fang quietly came to the outside of the Zunv Pavilion's boundary again. In addition to the Xinyuan Empire, he now wanted to know what the Zunv Pavilion's plan was. He counted with his fingers and found that there were only 5 days left until the day of the transaction. He estimated that at this time, the Zunv Pavilion would hold a high-level meeting. Sure enough, when there were only 3 days left, he finally heard the voice of the Xuanzhen nun and learned that the Zunv Pavilion had sent a Grand Elder to oversee the transaction. This Grand Elder was one of the 5 Grand Elders of the Zunv Pavilion. People called her Grand Elder Ningkong. Su Fang had heard of this Grand Elder. It was said that she was the youngest Grand Elder in the history of the Zunv Pavilion. In the past, she was also the Saintess of the Zunv Pavilion. Saintess. This was the basic requirement to become an elder or a Grand Elder. Originally, Ao Zhen could also become like Grand Elder Ningkong in the future, or even the leader of the Zunv Pavilion. Unfortunately, he fell into the hands of Li Haojie. The purpose of the Zunv Pavilion's gathering was to discuss how to deal with Su Fang and suppress him in the immortal array outside the Xianjia Gate. They even decided that once Su Fang escaped into the immortal array inside, they would not hesitate to bring the Zunv Pavilion's experts and kill their way into the immortal array inside. As I expected, the Zunv Pavilion will not give me any chance to survive. If you want to force me like this, then I will fight to the death with you. I want to see how many of the tens of thousands of disciples of the Zunv Pavilion will dare to enter the Xianjia Gate. It's a pity that Zhang Sun Ying did not come, and Wang Yuan is not among them. The only one I know is Xuanzhen Nun. Other than her, there are several other elders and a Grand Elder. I hope you can all enter the immortal array. It's almost time. There was only a little more than a day left. Su Fang immediately went to the Xianjia Gate and was shocked to see many cultivators flying into the Xianjia Gate. He just happened to meet a large number of disciples of the Supreme God sect. Unfortunately, Su Fang changed his appearance and no one recognized him. After entering the space outside the Xianjia Gate, he immediately hid his aura and flew toward the immortal cloud space. There was only half a day left in the immortal cloud space. In order to let your factions follow me into the immortal array inside, I will secretly release my aura first so that you can sense it. He stood on the skeleton of the teleportation formation that he had prepared before and quietly released his aura. This way, the Immortal Sealing Sect, the Green Lotus Sword Sect, the Xinyuan Empire, the Doichi, the Supreme God Sect, and the other factions would quickly attack this immortal array. They're here. Finally, the aura of a large number of disciples of the Zunv Pavilion were running toward this place. They were probably less than 1 li away. The power of the immortal array could shackle any power of the mortal realm. It was already a miracle that they could sense it within 1 li. Zunv Pavilion. I, Su Fang, am here. Su Fang released a thunderous voice to gain the upper hand. This was not only for the Zunv Pavilion to hear, but also for the experts who were looking for him to find him. Rustle, rustle. Not long after, a large number of Zunv Pavilion experts charged out of the immortal cloud space. The leader was the dignified elder, Xuanzhen Nun. Beside him were several other elders, most of whom were feather transformation realm experts. Xuanzhen Nun waved his hand, and the feather transformation realm experts immediately flew on their swords and surrounded the immortal cloud space, where Su Fang was at the fastest speed possible. She coldly swept her gaze over Su Fang's surroundings before locking onto Su Fang. "You are very punctual. Where are my clansmen?" Facing the encirclement, Su Fang had already expected this and asked sharply. Whoosh whoosh. An elder beside him suddenly waved his hand, and a Xian Guang restriction appeared. Under the immortal array's shackles, the restriction's aura was weakened by half. Fong Fong. Su Ting was the first to appear. He was panicking, but there was a smile on his face. Behind Su Ting were Su Junyan, Su Yi, Su Xiaolong, Su Yan, and the other clansmen, as well as Luo Zhongyan. There were more than 500 people in total. Su Fang signaled for everyone to calm down. Then he himself exploded in anger and roared like a lion. "My family Su dynasty has countless people and tens of thousands of clansmen. You actually killed so many that only these are left." Chapter 659. I know. That's why I spared these hundreds of lives for you. In the face of Su Fang's anger, Xuanzhen Nun responded indifferently. At that time we also screened and killed all those who had nothing to do with you. Those who survived were all your closest relatives in your family Su. You should be happy that we didn't kill them. Xuanzhen Nun. Su Fang suddenly had an evil aura as if he was going to go berserk. He gritted his teeth and looked at the righteous cultivators of Zhuanv Pavilion. Your Zhuanv Pavilion is a famous righteous sect in the Zhuotian realm. If you slaughter innocent people, is there any difference between you and evil cultivators? Killing people is common. My Zhuanv Pavilion wants to be strong and obtain the Xianjia Gate. Anyone who stands in our way, no matter if it's one person or 10,000 people, only death awaits. You sanctimonious fellows. Don't talk nonsense. Don't forget that your relatives are all under our control. I can take their heads in an instant and tell you the secret of the Xianjia Gate. If you want me to tell you the secret, release half of them first. Are you kidding? If we don't know a single word about the secret, you'll release them. Xuanzhen Nun and the higher-ups of Zhuanv Pavilion, look at the situation. I'm surrounded by you in this immortal formation world. Do I have 3 heads and 6 arms to escape? Release half of them, and I'll tell you most of the secret. At this moment, Su Fang didn't show any weakness. He showed the spirit of a life-and-death struggle. He was here to save people. If he didn't save them first, Zhuanv Pavilion would still have the upper hand. Then, he and his clansmen would be in danger. The elders of Zhuanv Pavilion were obviously communicating in secret. The surrounding disciples could use their strongest abilities at any time to kill Su Fang. Both sides were at daggers drawn. It seemed that the talks could collapse at any time and they would attack each other. Every Zhuanv Pavilion disciple was also in a nervous state. It seemed that they were in a state of panic when they were in this Xianjia Gate. Su Fang, we can agree to this condition of yours. We'll do as you say this once. After an hour of stalemate, Xuanzhen Nun finally compromised. With a wave of his hand, a barrier pushed more than 200 family Su clansmen forward. The family Su clansmen were all scared out of their wits, especially the remaining clansmen. When they saw a portion of their clansmen being rescued, they became even more nervous. In front of the experts of Zhuanv Pavilion, Su Fang activated a magic weapon, the Xian Guang, and immediately sucked the rescued clansmen into the magic weapon. Can you speak now? The elder in charge of the remaining family Su clansmen in Zhuanv Pavilion coldly pressed down on the barrier. After rescuing a portion of his clansmen, Su Fang was in a good mood. Of course, the secret of the Xianjia Gate is a supreme mystery to you. But to me, it's just a piece of cake. I heard that Zhuanv Pavilion had sent many experts to sneak into the Xianjia Gate last time. Xuanzhen Nun suddenly shouted coldly, "Don't say any more. We lost many experts that time. You don't need to repeat it. In fact, the secrets you know are all true. I didn't lie to you. There are still a portion of them who should be living well in a certain space within the immortal formation. The secret I didn't tell Xiao Mei was to enter the deepest part of the immortal formation space. In front of the Zunv Pavilion experts who couldn't wait any longer, Su Fong calmly dealt with them. Based on the secrets Zunv Pavilion had obtained from Xiao Mei, he coaxed them. In the immortal formation space where the ancient flood dragon appeared, there is an immortal formation 1 mile away. In fact, that is where the true mystery of the Xianjia Gate lies. When Xuanzhen Nun and the other elders heard this, their expressions changed. The ancient flood dragon is so powerful. It's an immortal beast. Su Fong, don't try to trick me with such lies. If the mystery is with the ancient flood dragon, how can you get close to the immortal formation? The immortal formation will spit out a kind of aura. If you can fuse with it, you can control the aura to deceive the ancient flood dragon. Also, you should know that I have a peerless life treasure. Back then, I used my life treasure to get close to that place. Furthermore, I used a big goblin as bait to lure the ancient flood dragon away. Now, can you let my clansmen go? You still haven't told me how to leave the Xianjia Gate. If you can get close to that immortal formation and wait for a stream of aura to come out of it, then if you dare to enter the stream of aura, you will be swept out of the Dao treasure space. Back then, exalted Yuezhen and I were chased by the ancient flood dragon. Because I obtained the mysterious aura from the immortal formation and was swept away by the stream of aura, we were able to mysteriously leave the inner world. I estimate that the immortal formation is the passage guarded by the ancient flood dragon. It's the same as not saying anything. There's no absolute certainty that we can leave the Xianjia Gate. You guys are right, the Xianjia Gate is a peerless Dao artifact, it is incomparably mysterious. How can there be such a good thing in the world without taking risk? If it is so easy to obtain, the Xianjia Gate would have long been in the hands of others. You guys are in the Dao artifact world, there is nothing absolute. You want me to give you an absolute way to leave the Dao artifact world, but I can't guarantee it. Let me say one more thing, you guys also know that there is an immortal array in the periphery. From time to time, there will be air currents spurting out. But who would have thought that the elder in charge of the family Su's clansmen indifferently shook his head. We can only release half of them. Once the trapped disciples of my sect are able to escape from the Xianjia Gate, we'll release the rest. You're going back on your word. Su Fong realized that saving people wasn't as simple as they had planned. The Zunv Pavilion wouldn't easily release everyone. There was no way around it. They would temporarily agree to release a portion of their people. As a result, Su Fong had finally rescued most of his clansmen. However, there were still 100 people who were controlled by a middle-aged female elder. Xuanzhen Nun said, Su Fong, we can't give you all the people. Who knows if you're telling the truth this time? Hateful. Zunv Pavilion was too difficult to deal with. It was like an old fox that held the hostages tightly and couldn't make a move to save them. If he made a move, the other party could instantly kill all his clansmen. Su Fong suppressed his anger. I'm not lying to you, including the secrets you obtained from Xiao Mei, they are all true. It's just that your disciples are temporarily trapped in the depths and don't know about the existence of the immortal formation. If they knew the secrets I'm talking about right now, they would have the courage and strength to approach the immortal formation under the ancient flood dragon's nose and wait for the airflow to shoot out. Then they would definitely be able to come out. It's just that the airflow of a Dao item is truly terrifying. If they didn't know this secret, how could they have thought that the airflow was the key to leaving the Dao item? Speaking up to here, Su Fong suddenly stopped and prophesied, It's a pity. Xuanzhen Nun's eyes were cold. What's a pity? How many of the Zunv Pavilion's disciples have the strength and courage? As the saying goes, wealth comes from danger. It depends on how much courage you have. Su Fang, I have a suggestion. Suddenly, Xuanzhen Nun walked out. Let's hear it. He was really curious about what this elder was thinking. A woman was even more vicious than a man. She said majestically, "You can bring us into the Xianjia Gate and then help us rescue our clan's disciples. When we reach the immortal formation and see the airflow that you mentioned, we will release them regardless of whether they can come out or not." Su Fang sneered in his heart, but his face was full of shock. "How can I believe that you won't keep your word? PFFF. Who knew?" The elder who controlled the 100 or so family Su clansmen flicked her finger, and a burst of energy actually chopped off the head of a clansman on the right. "Stop." Su Fang took a step forward. His aura spread in all directions as he stared at the middle-aged woman. Xuanzhen Nun nodded to the female elder embarrassedly. "Senior Sister Xianqiu, Su Fang should have agreed to cooperate with us. Don't kill any more people. Maybe later we will become allies with Su Fang." Elder Xianqiu. This name would cause all the Zunv Pavilion's disciples to be suppressed by Su Fang one by one. She actually killed his clansmen right in front of him. Su Fang's suppressed crazed blood transformation almost exploded at that moment. Xuanzhen Nun smiled. "Su Fang, don't blame my senior sister. She is an elder appointed by Elder Heartless Grandma. She inherited some of Grandma's teachings and has a bad temper. Just go along with her." At this moment, Su Fang, whose weakness was caught by Zunv Pavilion, shouted, "Okay, I will cooperate with you. I will bring you inside." Straightforward, Senior Sister Xianqiu. Absorb them into the artifact's space and protect them well. Don't let any more accidents happen to them. Xuanzhen Nun's smile became even brighter. Whoosh whoosh, just as the two sides reached an agreement on cooperation. Flying swords suddenly flew out from the center of both sides. On the flying swords were feather transformation realm cultivators who stepped on the air. Their sudden attack was too fast for Zunv Pavilion to guard against. The flying swords instantly replaced the magical power attacks and slashed down. Many of the Zunv Pavilion's experts died under the swords. Among the experts who charged over, an old man raised his hand and pointed. "Capture Su Fang alive." Su Fangda's perfect senses calmed him down instantly. "Experts of the Xinyuan Empire, I have underestimated you. You actually dared to attack Zunv Pavilion directly. But good job." It turned out that the Xinyuan Empire had arrived first and did not give any face to Zunv Pavilion. It seemed that they wanted to snatch Su Fang from Zunv Pavilion. Xuanzhen Nun and the elders in the center did not lose their cool. "Leave some of them to deal with these experts. The rest of you, follow us into the celestial array." Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Unexpectedly, hundreds of experts flew out from behind them. Deutsche. They were Deutsche experts who hid their identities. Su Fang could clearly sense their auras. Zunv Pavilion had yet to react. They did not know that there were other forces that could find this place. In an instant, they were surrounded by the Xinyuan Empire and Deutsche. As for Su Fang, at this moment, Zunv Pavilion, the Xinyuan Empire, and Deutsche experts forced him to come here. There was no way he could escape from the encirclement of countless experts. "Xuanzhen Nun, Elder Xianqiu, I will go first and wait for you inside." Since it was impossible to escape, Su Fang turned around and struck a seal as he looked at the large number of feather transformation realm experts. With a loud roar, he suddenly passed through the center of the Zunv Pavilion experts in front of the celestial array easily. He immediately entered the celestial array and disappeared. "You guys!" Xuanzhen Nun, Elder Xianqiu, and the other experts rushed over. When they saw that their disciples did not react and allowed Su Fang to enter the array first, they were so angry that they slapped each of them. "Go in. Let's go." The two elders flew in front and led a large number of experts. When the Xinyuan Empire and Deutsche attacked, they rushed into the celestial array together. Tell the Marquis that he has been forced into the celestial array. The remaining Zunv Pavilion experts blocked the two forces. The Xinyuan Empire elder sent out a thought and waited for a while. After receiving the order, he and the Deutsche experts also directly charged into the celestial array. When they entered, many experts from other powers appeared in the vicinity. The cultivators were as dense as phantoms, appearing from the surroundings. Even the disciples of the mystic Maiden Pavilion who stayed behind could only choose to evade and make way for them. Chapter 660. Unlike the immortal array outside, the immortal array inside was silent. Look, please move. The immortal array world was filled with immortal clouds. Occasionally, there would be some strange air currents that would form a twisting phenomenon, making this place seem like a great world. Whoosh! A human figure could actually fly in the immortal array inside. Although his speed was very ordinary, to be able to fly for a long time without using Dharma treasures, this was almost an immortal's ability. I'm in again. Su Fong gradually landed from the immortal cloud. He looked around and suddenly felt that it was very unfamiliar. This was the immortal array space deep inside. He had been here before. However, back then, he entered from a different direction. Hence, everything in front of him was naturally unfamiliar. He remembered that when he first entered, he saw a large number of white bones. But there was nothing here. There were only some air currents that could kill any mortal realm cultivator, sweeping across the sky from time to time. Now, I can safely use the Divine Image Jade Wall's aura to hide my aura. Next, those cultivators who came from the immortal array will be looking for me everywhere. Now, it's my turn to deal with you all. Since this was not the immortal array space he had been to before, it meant that everything was unknown. Su Fong activated the Divine Image Jade Wall and released the immortal spiritual energy in his body. Then, combined with the Tao artifact, his speed increased by 3 times. He was confident that even if Heartless Grandma came here, she would not be able to move half as fast as him. With a whoosh, he flew in the direction he came from. Soon, he used his Great Perfection stage ability to see the ground from the immortal cloud. More than 1,000 experts from Zunv Pavilion formed several formations. Under the leadership of Xuanzhen Nun, Elder Xian Chou, and a few other elders, they were carefully moving forward. Elder Xian Chou asked uneasily, "Junior Sister Xuanzhen, where is Su Fong?" Xuanzhen Nun warned everyone coldly. "This is an immortal array in the depths, there are immortal clouds and immortal array power everywhere. We are unable to sense the aura within 1 li of the array. This person is probably worried about being chased, so he came here first and fled to Crystal City. We will search for Crystal City directly. Don't worry, we have Su Fong clansmen under our control. He should be waiting for us in Crystal City. Everyone, we have to speed up and be careful along the way. Don't rashly activate the immortal array. We are the first to find the Crystal City. Moreover, we can secretly contact our fellow sect members who entered the immortal array. I reckon that it won't be long before we can control everything again." Elder Xian Chou ordered the disciples behind him. Among these disciples, most of them were female disciples. Even if they were at the catastrophe or feather transformation realm, they were still scared out of their wits upon arriving at the legendary Yama world. Su Fong, who was hiding above, heard everything. He grinned and looked down. "Zunv Pavilion is despicable and shameless, so don't blame me for being ruthless." With another whoosh, Su Fong moved to the front of the immortal array. At this moment, he saw experts from the Xinyuan Empire and Deutsche killing their way in and killing some Zunv Pavilion experts. The few who survived were interrogated as they chased in the direction of Zunv Pavilion. Then, a familiar aura followed the movement of the immortal array, and a large number of cultivators flew into the inner space. The leaders were Jin Chongkong, Elder Juedao, and Exalted Cultivator Yuezhen. Behind them were thousands of experts from the Celestial Sealing sect. It turned out that more than 1,000 experts from the Celestial Sealing sect had also killed their way in. Jin Chongkong, Elder Juedao, coming here is equivalent to entering my palm. Did you really think that exalted cultivator Yuezhen would lead you to me? After waiting for a while, the Green Lotus Sword sect also entered the array. The leaders were Great Elder Red Lotus, Elder Bronze, and other big shots from the Green Lotus Sword sect. There were also thousands of experts. I reckon that these people are not easy to deal with. They are not only here for Xinjia Gate, but also for 7-Star Child's decree to kill me. Therefore, these people might have shocking power that 7-Star Child gave them. He stared at the experts of the Green Lotus Sword sect coming in one after another and advancing quickly. Then, there were many experts from the Zhuotian domain. There were not many of them, only a few hundred. They entered the inner layer of the immortal array with some rogue cultivators. I reckon that the Zunv Pavilion will contact the experts who were trapped here before. It doesn't matter. Even if they come together, so what? There is no immortal array in the depths of the ancient flood dragon. It is even more impossible for them to pass through the ancient flood dragon. They will definitely be trapped in those mirror passages. Haha, now is the time for me to take my revenge. Su Fang immediately flew forward. He also secretly absorbed the immortal qi of the Xinjia Gate. Just like the first time he came in, he should be able to absorb a part of it. And this time, the amount he absorbed was 100 times faster than the last time. He reckoned that he was the only one who could absorb the power of a Dao item here with a mortal body for his own use. From there, he could activate the Divine Image Jade Annulus and Immortal level abilities. Boom, boom. Not long after leaving the Immortal Array, he encountered Doichi and the experts of the Immortal Sealing sect fighting each other. This fight was not a battle, but a slaughter. When he got close to the Xinyuan Empire, he also found a few places where people were fighting. These experts no longer had any misgivings when they entered the Immortal Array. They saved and killed anyone they saw. Whoever had the means would be protected here. If they caught Su Fang, not only would they be able to get the Dao item, but they would also be able to escape. Let's wait for these factions to kill each other and exhaust their true qi. Every bit they consume, their true qi will decrease. Even if they rely on spiritual items, they won't be able to recover. In the end, they will end up like the exalted cultivator Yuezhen. Without true qi, they can only rely on pills to survive in the Immortal Array world. He slowly landed on the ground. Far away on the ground, a figure was running over at a low altitude. Master! Not long after landing, the running figure flashed over. It was the exalted cultivator Yuezhen. When he saw Su Fang, tears flowed down his old face. He reckoned that if he wanted to leave this place alive, he could only rely on Su Fang. Su Fang used the power of the Dao item to lift the exalted cultivator Yuezhen up. He was not worried about his true qi. First, he had 7 yang meridians, a golden core origin, a purple qi dharma spirit, and the dragon-subduing wood left arm. These treasures were filled with true qi. The other thing was that he could absorb the high-level energy inside the Xinjia Gate. He could cultivate his true qi. Why would he be worried about his true qi consumption? When they were about 1,000 meters above the ground, the exalted cultivator Yuezhen could see that there were many cultivators below. Master, what should we do next? I reckon there are tens of thousands of people here. Su Fang said, other than saving my clansmen from the Zunv Pavilion's Elder Xianqiu, we have to suppress all the cultivators from the Xinyuan Empire, Doichi, and Zunv Pavilion. We have just established the Heaven Crossing sect. Furthermore, I am going to the Human Emperor world. I need countless experts to support me. I can make use of these people. Not just these factions, but all the cultivators who have entered the Immortal Array. The exalted cultivator Yuezhen flattered, these factions are all overlords outside. But when they come here, they are just a bunch of chickens and dogs in front of Master. Follow me down now. Get close to these people, and use the divine image Jade Annulus to sweep and suppress them. Yes. The two of them immediately approached the Xinyuan Empire's camp. After a while, the two of them passed through the immortal cloud and arrived on the ground. The experts from the Xinyuan Empire were not simple. They immediately heard some commotion. A few experts rushed out of the immortal cloud and saw Su Fong standing with his hands behind his back. The exalted cultivator Yuezhan sneered at the side. They quickly notified the Xinyuan Empire. Kill. The 4 Ascendant Transformation Realm experts were from the Xinyuan Empire. Their cultivations were all high levels of the Ascendant Transformation Realm. However, their speed and abilities were not even comparable to the Undying Realm in the Xianjia Gate. What about Su Fong? They fought hard to reach Su Fong. In the end, Su Fong controlled the exalted cultivator Yuezhan and dodged backward, avoiding the pursuit of the few people. That's Su Fong. We can't let him escape. Suddenly, a few hundred figures rushed over to help. They were more experts from the Xinyuan Empire. The leader was an old man who looked to be in his 80s. He had a hunched body. Although he looked like an old man, he was a peerless expert who killed without batting an eyelid. Su Fong glanced at the old man. He was indeed a peerless expert. Then, he looked at the more experts who appeared. He smiled calmly in front of everyone and said, "Qin Yuanho didn't come in. You are all cannon fodder. Cannon fodder from the Xinyuan Empire. You want to kill me? How arrogant. Kill." The hunchbacked old man in his 80s immediately waved his hand. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. A few hundred people swarmed over from the front. Unfortunately, they could only fly at a low altitude. Their speed was comparable to that of the Undying Realm. They used their magic treasures and attacked Su Fong. Divine Jade Wall. Su Fong clapped his right hand in the air. A round magic treasure suddenly shot into the sky above the crowd. Seeing this, the hunchbacked old man in his 80s straightened his body. Dao artifact. Buzz! This was the first time Su Fong had used the Divine Jade Wall outside of his body. The Divine Jade Wall was not an offensive magic treasure. It was a defensive magic treasure. Although it did not attack, it still had the power to shackle people, especially in this space that was originally shackled by a Dao artifact. Everyone looked at the Divine Jade Wall and forgot about Su Fong's existence. There was a buzzing sound. The Divine Jade Wall suddenly shot out a beam of jade light. It was like a waterfall shrouding the ground from mid-air. Its speed was normal. Therefore, in a breath, before the experts of the Xinyuan Empire could react, more than 200 experts were shackled to the ground by the jade light of the Divine Jade Wall. Whoosh! Under Su Fong's control, the Divine Jade Wall trembled slightly. The jade light immediately burst into a supreme immortal light. More than 200 experts of the Xinyuan Empire inside it rose into the air at the same time and flew quickly toward the Divine Jade Wall. In just a breath, everyone was sucked into the Divine Jade Wall. They did not even have the chance to struggle or resist. The hunchbacked elder was dumbfounded. The experts outside were scared out of their wit. How could they resist when they saw such a method? Su Fong laughed in the air. It's easy for me to kill you, but I can't bear to kill the experts of the Xinyuan Empire. I'll slowly shackle and suppress you one by one. Retreat, retreat to the depths of the deity array. The hunchbacked elder in his 80s gritted his teeth and waved his arm unwillingly. He stepped on a royal-grade Dharma artifact and hurried to the depths of the deity array with the other experts of the Xinyuan Empire. Some of the Xinyuan Empire's experts couldn't even react in time before they lost sight of the old man and the other experts. They ran faster than mice. Whoosh! They also ran for their lives in fear. Exalted Yuezhan saw this scene and came back to his senses after a long time. He took a deep breath. Master, are you really not going to kill them? Su Fong said domineeringly. Killing them will be satisfying. But if you kill them, you will help me refine pills. You will help me take back the human emperor world from the Xinyuan Empire. I understand. Exalted Yuezhen bowed obediently. Haha, you want to escape too? He activated his supreme divine power and used his wings of flaming cloud. Su Fong used the flaming cloud steps and flew quickly, bringing Exalted Yuezhen with him. He passed through the ground where the experts of the Xinyuan Empire were and flew out of the deity array. In front of him were a few experts of the Xinyuan Empire. They still wanted to attack Su Fong. But in the face of the wings of flaming cloud, the divine jade wall flew out of his palm and flew over their heads. They were all sucked into it. A Tao artifact was indeed a Tao artifact. It was peerless and superior to mortals. If these feather transformation realm experts were in the natural environment of the small world, they would dodge and use their Dharma treasures to attack the divine jade wall. But now they did not have any chance to do so. Chapter 661. It could suppress any expert of the Xinyuan Empire in an instant. The divine image jade wall was indeed powerful. It was like a fish in water in this immortal array world. Master, your divine might is unrivaled. You are the overlord here. No one is your opponent. More than 300 people were suppressed. Even exalted Master Yuezhen was speechless. Su Fong controlled the celestial image jade annulus and blasted the celestial clouds away. Not a single cultivator could be seen. At this moment, he was like a heavenly deity that had descended to the mortal world, invincible in every battle. He continued to chase forward. Don't forget that we met the Frost King last time. There are immortals here and many unknown immortal arrays. I can suppress mortals, but I'm not sure if I can fight against the power of immortal arrays. They're chasing us. 2 experts from the Xinyuan Empire were flying on their swords, but they seemed to be affected by the power of the immortal array and couldn't resist it. Seeing Su Fong coming, they were so scared that their legs went soft. They attacked and released their Dharma treasures, but the divine image jade wall's power crushed them and sucked them in. Master, what are they? What are they? After suppressing the 2, the thousands of experts of the Xinyuan Empire had already been defeated and fled. Exalted Master Yuezhen found a mountain range behind them. It was indeed a mountain range. Before entering the mountain range, there were some strange purple plants filled with immortal aura and some purple fruits with tempting fragrance. Judging from what happened to the 2 experts, those weren't immortal fruits that could be eaten directly, but fruits that contained some special power. Maybe you can use them to make pills. Don't eat them. Collect them for me and take them back to study. They might be useful. Aren't we going to chase after the Xinyuan Empire? There's no need to chase after them. They're like ants on a hot pan. I can sense that they're either hiding in the mountains or accidentally entering some immortal array. We can take care of them slowly. Everything inside the Xianjia Gate comes from a great world. The 2 of them were robbers. After a round of plundering, they put the strange purple fruits into their Dharma treasures. During this process, Su Fong also discovered that when his left hand came into contact with the purple immortal tree, his left hand's wood elemental godly might would be slightly stimulated. He seemed to want to absorb the immortal tree as well, but the wood-type power in his left arm seemed to be no match for the immortal tree. If he really used his left arm to absorb the immortal tree like how he absorbed the heavenly gourd spirit tree, the effect might backfire. Don't take any chances. Hoo-hoo, he had just finished collecting a large number of purple immortal fruits and was approaching the mountain when a red-robed cultivator rushed up from behind. They were also fast, but in front of Su Fong they were like children learning how to walk. When exalted Master Yuezhen saw so many red-robed cultivators, he frowned. Supreme Deity Sect. He's Su Fong. He really is here. Attack! Cultivators of the Supreme God Sect. There were close to 1,000 people, all of whom were in the feather transformation realm. The leader was an old man in a red robe, wearing a protective golden armor and a black cloth. Under the old man's command, hundreds of people rushed over like a tsunami. When Su Fang saw the experts of the Supreme God Sect approaching, his gaze landed on the old man in golden armor. That old man is very strong. Exalted Master Yuezhen introduced. This person is the Supreme God Sect's Grand Elder He Zun. I heard that he was originally a Devil Dao expert, but for some reason, he was bought over by the Supreme God Sect and became one of the Supreme God Sect's Grand Elders. He is very strong. No wonder a Grand Elder is so strong. Then, let's take him in. Only such a Grand Elder can help me take back the human Emperor world from the Xinyuan Empire. After saying that, Su Fang and Exalted Master Yuezhen directly faced the experts of the Supreme God Sect. The experts of the Supreme God Sect were surprised. They wanted to kill Su Fang with so many people, but not only did they not run away, they took the initiative to attack. The old man in golden armor, who was called Grand Elder He Zun, sneered. So it's Exalted Master Yuezhen from the Celestial Sealing Sect. Could it be that your Celestial Sealing Sect has already suppressed Su Fang? But so what? This is not the Crimson Firmament continent. You're very wrong. Exalted Master Yuezhen smiled deeply. Grand Elder He Zun suddenly formed a hand seal. Everyone attack. That person is Exalted Master Yuezhen from the Celestial Sealing Sect. If he stops us from capturing Su Fang, we'll kill him as well. Kill! Whoosh! Hundreds of people rushed out like a swarm of bees. Facing so many experts, all of whom were at the wing transformation realm, Su Fang couldn't stop smiling. He was in need of manpower, especially wing transformation realm experts. This time, he had deliberately lured countless factions into the Celestial Sealing Sect in order to strengthen his foundation and suppress experts for his own use. Soon, he would be fighting with the Xinyuan Empire to take back the human Emperor world. Relying on the 5 Poison Divine Sect alone wouldn't be enough. He had to have the confidence to take back the human Emperor world. Right now, the 5 Poison Divine Sect found it difficult to gain a foothold in the Xinyuan Empire and the Deutsche Empire. How could they find the strength to help him? Such a brat, he's acting recklessly. He has the Yang Strengthening Pills recipe. Some wing transformation realm experts swarmed over. In their eyes, Su Fang was just an ant. Whoosh! Amidst the winding, a celestial light flew out from the top of Su Fang's head. A Dao artifact. Grand Elder He Zun, who was in the middle of hundreds of Supreme God Sect experts, was indeed an experienced expert. He immediately recognized what the celestial light was. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The divine jade annulus instantly sprinkled a celestial light on the Supreme God Sect experts below, covering everyone. Instantly, it was as if they were shadows that were sucked into the Dao artifact. No wing transformation realm experts had the power to resist. Under the Dao artifact's divine power, their divine power and magic treasures couldn't be activated at all. Boom, boom, boom. The divine jade annulus charged towards the sky behind. The Supreme God Sect experts stared blankly. Before they could react, they were swept through the immortal formation space by the Dao artifact, effortlessly becoming the appetizer of the Dao artifact. It was like a whale swallowing fish and shrimp. The Supreme God Sect's wing transformation realm experts were suppressed in the Dao artifact's world. It was easy to suppress them, but it was even easier for the divine jade annulus to crush them. In this immortal formation world, the mortal cultivators were shackled and could still withstand the impact of the Dao artifact. Even if the old toad immortal came here and lost his speed advantage, he could only be suppressed by the Dao artifact. Even if he encountered Li Haojia, He could use the origin-suppressing demon transforming heavenly book to subdue the old toad immortal in this Tao artifact's world. Retreat, retreat. In less than half an incense stick's time, the Supreme God sect was defeated like a tide. Of the hundreds of people who came, 1/3 had already been suppressed. When Grand Elder He Zun saw this scene, he was so scared that his heart turned cold. He didn't know that when he came with murderous intent, he would encounter Su Fang, who had a Tao artifact and could even use it to such an extent. He hurriedly led the Supreme God sect experts to retreat into the depths of the immortal formation world. "You suppress these experts by yourself. Don't worry, wait until I catch Grand Elder He Zun." Without waiting for the divine image Jade Annulus, Su Fang used the flaming cloud wings and chased after the retreating Supreme God sect experts. Without Su Fang's control, the divine image Jade Annulus could still suppress the Supreme God sect cultivators, but its speed and divine power were not as good as before. Exalted cultivator Yuezhan activated his Dharma treasure and cooperated with the divine image Jade Annulus to deal with the Supreme God sect experts who were alone. Whoosh, whoosh. The flaming cloud wings streaked across the immortal clouds in the sky. When the Supreme God sect experts below saw the figure on the flaming cloud wings, it was like a flaming meteor with such terrifying speed, their hearts turned cold. When Grand Elder He Zun saw Su Fang, he couldn't believe it. This, isn't he just a catastrophe realm cultivator? Su Fang circled in the air, and suddenly flew to the center of the Supreme God sect. "Grand Elder He Zun, where are you running to? Today, you and all the Supreme God sect disciples who entered the immortal formation world will be suppressed by me. Take out your Dharma treasure and greet him," Grand Elder He Zun suddenly ordered. It seemed like he was scared out of his wits by the Tao artifact. Whoosh, whoosh. Sure enough, dozens of feather transformation realm experts took out their Dharma treasures. Flying swords, sabers, pagodas, spears, treasured blades, they all greeted Su Fang. In the end, the speed of the Dharma treasures in the immortal formation world couldn't compare to Su Fang's speed. Obviously, the Dharma treasures were also shackled in this Tao artifact world. Think about it, if the Xianjia Gate had an artifact spirit, with so many terrifying Dharma treasures in the small world, would they still dare to release their divine power to blaspheme it? That would be courting death. Taking the opportunity, Su Fang turned into a flaming meteor and flashed past a large number of Dharma treasures. Phaseless flaming cloud saber. In an instant, even Grand Elder He Zun was unable to use any powerful abilities in the immortal formation world, but Su Fang did it. Countless flaming cloud saber lights, with immortal chi, fell down in a large area. It couldn't be compared to the height when it was in nature, but it wasn't much weaker. The key point was that the phaseless flaming cloud saber was filled with shocking immortal chi. It could be seen at a glance that this was no longer the power of the small world. Boom, boom. In the end, the flaming cloud saber lights spread out among countless experts. Grand Elder He Zun. Bang! Su Fang's eyes were sharp and his hands were fast. He flew through the air and grabbed at Grand Elder He Zun. He didn't expect Grand Elder He Zun to react so quickly. Although he couldn't use any great abilities, he still sent out a palm with a thick palm print. As expected of Grand Elder, but here, you are not my opponent. Limitless Tao art, limitless divine image. He used the peerless ability from Doichi again, the limitless Tao art. Of course, Su Fang hadn't comprehended much. He had only temporarily merged the limitless Tao art with his divine image to control space. After exchanging a few blows with Grand Elder He Zun, Su Fang couldn't do anything to him. But at this time, when he used his divine image and sent out a palm strike, Grand Elder He Zun was surrounded by the blazing illusory fire cloud. He immediately jumped around in pain like a flea. What made Grand Elder He Zun hateful was that no matter what ability or aura he released, as soon as it exploded from his body, it would be shackled by the divine power of the Tao artifact. It was less than 1/10 of his strength against the illusory fire cloud, so it was naturally useless. But he was the Grand Elder. Taking advantage of Su Fang's unpreparedness, he suddenly sent out a stream of devil qi. Within this stream of devil qi, there was a human-shaped devil saber. Whoosh! There was no magic treasure, but it was still nimbly dodged by Su Fang. He then released his divine image, and more illusory fire cloud burned Grand Elder He Zun, causing him to scream in pain. When the devil qi returned to his hand, it was indeed a strange human-shaped devil saber. Its quality was also very shocking, about the same as the Rakshasa jade bottle. It's interesting to fight with an expert like you. Grand Elder He Zun, you are not my opponent at all. Moreover, I haven't used my Tao artifact, nor have I used any other methods to suppress you. If you can't see this clearly, then you will have a lot of suffering to suffer. Su Fang shouted, I also want to remind you that I am not afraid of the power of the Devil Tao. Although you are strong and a Devil Tao cultivator, you still don't have a true devil body. With just a few words I was scared by you. Grand Elder He Zun activated the human-shaped devil saber again. In an instant, a corrosive devil qi, under the activation of the human-shaped devil saber, strangely slashed at Su Fang like a devil qi giant. And his attack was too slow in front of Su Fang. After easily dodging, he activated more illusory fire cloud, burning Grand Elder He Zun almost unable to control the devil artifact. Seeing this, Su Fang thought of something again. He suddenly flashed behind Grand Elder He Zun, not to kill him, but to release the Yiming Qi. Chapter 662. Crack, crack, crack. Boundless underworld Yin Qi merged with the immortal light, transforming into cold Qi that shot toward First Elder He Zun. The First Elder didn't even have time to release a stronger defense before he was enveloped by the Yin Qi. He instantly turned into an ice statue. Underworld Yin Qi. The frozen First Elder He Zun was still struggling. He seemed to know how powerful the Yin Qi was. Come in. A pagoda door separated from Su Fang's hands and landed on top of the frozen Grand Elder. You! After saying that, First Elder He Zun was sucked into the gate. Not good, First Elder has been suppressed. Run. The surrounding experts of the Supreme God sect, who had been attacked by the formless fire cloud saber and were burning, began to flee when they saw this scene. When Su Fang arrived in the air, he raised his hand, and the divine image jade annulus appeared in front of him. He personally activated it, and the Tao item's divine aura once more swept over the experts below. Within his divine aperture, Yu-Er was still releasing his divine aura. Master, you aren't afraid of the immortal Jia Gate, but Yu-Er isn't afraid either. Su Fang was in a good mood when he saw the experts being suppressed. Why should I be afraid of it? In truth, I only dared to come here because it's just a Tao item. But I have a peerless divine item. If I'm forced into a corner, I'll use my divine item to suppress the Tao item. I've heard that the legendary divine items are the strongest magical treasures. Divine items are legendary existences. Yu-Er has never seen one before. But Master's ancient mirror is truly terrifying. I can't sense any aura from it. Furthermore, Master is right. Only high-grade materials can suppress low-grade materials. There has never been a low-grade law that can surpass high-grade laws. If the ancient mirror can surpass the immortal Jia Gate, then the Tao item can't suppress the ancient mirror. Master must have thought of this. That's why he's not afraid of the immortal Jia Gate. Yu-Er is really smart. Continue suppressing them. Don't let any of them escape. Su Fang didn't start a massacre, but seeing the divine image jade annulus easily suppress the experts of the Supreme God sect, It was as satisfying as killing people. These people were all enemies who wanted to skin him alive. At this moment, there were already thousands of people trapped in the divine image jade wall. Some of them were from the Xinyuan Empire, while the rest were from the Supreme God sect. About 2 hours later, not a single disciple of the Supreme God sect was able to escape from this immortal array space. They were all sucked into the divine image jade wall. A portion of the Xinyuan Empire's experts are still hiding there. Most of them have gone to meet up with Doichi. After dealing with the Supreme God sect, Su Fang and Superior Yuezhen flew into the mountain range. When he released his senses, he discovered that the cultivators of the Xinyuan Empire were all hiding in fear, not daring to act rashly. However, some people had already become corpses, because the materials in the mountain range all came from the Great World. Quite a few plants contained special powers, and once they came into contact with the bodies of mortals, they would not be able to resist. In the end, they would be corroded by the strong poison. There were probably dozens of them. It seemed that the experts of the Xinyuan Empire hadn't had time to inform them. Furthermore, there was a terrifying immortal array outside the mountain range. The power of the immortal array was causing them to constantly lose their true qi, so they might as well hide in the mountain range and find some spiritual items to replenish their energy. Heavenly Devil Disintegration Seal. Su Fang used his Supreme Yuan spirit to extract young souls from the hidden experts of the Xinyuan Empire. Su Fang used the power of his young soul. Listen up, I know where you're hiding. Don't let anyone else come to save you. As long as you enter the Xianjia Gate, don't even think about leaving. Only I, Su Fang, can bring you out. You should know my methods. Even if the great Emperor Dipper personally came here, he would be suppressed by me. I'll give you a chance. Come out now, or else you'll end up miserable. Using his perfect abilities, he could see that the experts of the Xinyuan Empire were all scared out of their wits. Some of them hesitated for a while, but in the end, they compromised with reality and obediently flew out of the forest. Su Fang used the divine image jade annulus to suck in the experts who flew out voluntarily. Some of them were actually hiding and didn't move. They thought that Su Fang was joking with them. He activated the true demon blood plate, and under the control of his young soul, he suddenly shot into the mountain range. After a few bangs, the young souls of the experts were severely injured by the true demon blood plate. The result was the same. They were suppressed by the true demon blood plate, so how could they escape Su Fang's great abilities? It took a day's effort to clean up all the cultivators in the mountain range. He caught an expert of the Xinyuan Empire and asked him face to face, "Who is the old man who brought you here according to Marquis Qin Yuanho's decree?" The expert answered truthfully, "His name is Guangzhou Sage King. He's the #1 expert among the generals under Marquis Qin Yuanho. He's also famous in the primordial god world. He's a great general who guards a region and controls 100,000 soldiers." That's the old man who's a little hunchback. Yes, yes. Although Guangzhou Sage King is an old man in his 80s, his cultivation is profound. He kills people without batting an eye, and everyone is afraid of him. He once suppressed a small rebel country overnight, beheaded all the cultivators in the small country, and made a throne of heads for the royal family of the Xinyuan Empire. Okay, then I'll go catch that Guangzhou Sage King now. Su Fang smiled. He thought of that hunchbacked old man in his 80s. He was indeed powerful, even more powerful than Elder He Zun. Since he was a great general of the Xinyuan Empire, wouldn't he be able to understand the Xinyuan Empire better after suppressing him? He put the cultivators into the Tao artifact space and flew down the mountain with exalted Master Yuezhen. During this time, he also put the true demon blood plate into the Tao artifact space. With Yu Er's help, he used the true demon primordial spirit imprint on more than 1,000 experts and suppressed them one by one. Wow! More than 1,000 experts were enough to establish a first-rate power. Although it couldn't compare to the Immortal Sealing Sect or the Zunv Pavilion, it was still comparable to the Broken Sword Sect or the Twin Immortal Sect. Using his peak senses, he quickly sensed the auras of some Xinyuan Empire cultivators. Su Fang immediately flashed to the ground, followed by Exalted Master Yuezhen. After passing through the immortal clouds, they saw more than a dozen Xinyuan Empire experts carefully moving forward. But before they could react, they were suppressed by the Dao artifact space. Master, look! They caught up with some other Xinyuan Empire expert. Not far ahead was where a large number of Xinyuan Empire experts were. However, at this time, Exalted Master Yuezhen suddenly pointed to an immortal formation on the right. There were a few Xinyuan Empire experts, a disciple of the Immortal Sealing Sect, and many skeletons inside the formation. These people had clearly mistakenly entered the immortal formation and were killed by its power. The Doichi experts are also inside, together with the Xinyuan Empire. Fine, since we're all together, I'll suppress them together. After leaving the immortal clouds, they passed through a patch of immortal qi. In front of them was a floating forest. The Xinyuan Empire and Doichi experts were hidden inside. In order to grasp the enemy's situation, Exalted Master Yuezhen sent his peak senses deeper. Suddenly, Su Fang's eyes were filled with shock. There's a discovery. Exalted Master Yuezhen hastily asked. I can sense that most of the Xinyuan Empire and Doichi experts are around the forest. Some of their auras are in the depths of the forest. There's a lot of blood qi in the depths of the forest, and a terrifying aura. Furthermore, there's an immortal formation in the depths of the forest. Master, are you saying that there's another world in the forest? Think about Crystal City. Is it the only city in this immortal formation? Or the only place with immortals? I don't think so. Master, I understand. You're saying that this forest is as dangerous as Crystal City, and there are immortals guarding it. That's right. Then let's not go in. Exalted Master Yuezhen shuddered. However, Su Fang shook his head. I said that we can't let go of anyone from the Xinyuan Empire and Doichi. Especially that sacred King Guangzhou. We must capture him. He then ordered Exalted Master Yuezhen, go to Crystal City first and check on the situation there. After I suppress most of the cultivators, I'll meet up with you. Especially, check on Elder Xian Chao's movements. That person has more than 100 lives of my family Su. Master, be careful. Exalted Master Yuezhen hurriedly rushed towards the depths of the forest. He would rather go to the familiar and understanding Crystal City than enter the unknown and terrifying forest. At this moment, Su Fang also moved. He used fire cloud steps and arrived in front of the forest. He saw some corpses below. There were experts from the Xinyuan Empire, Supreme God Sect, and Zunv Pavilion disciples. Most of them died in the hands of the strange plants in the forest. After entering the forest, he saw many insects. These insects looked like beetles and caterpillars, but they were all extremely poisonous. They were all creatures of the Great World. The poison they contained came from the Great World. If the cultivators of the small world were infected, they would be poisoned to death. Even peerless experts like Heartless Granny and the great Emperor Dipper would be poisoned to death. It could only be said that the Great World was indeed a world that only immortals were qualified to live in. Su Fang released a Dao artifact defense, and was not afraid of these poisonous insects. After passing through a few miles of the forest, he sensed a barrier in front of him. The barrier was created by the Xinyuan Empire and Doichi. It was not strong at all. Under the pressure of the immortal formation, it was only at the level of the undead realm. He sensed that more than 1,000 people from the two factions were resting in the depths. It was not easy to rest. They could not cultivate and could only swallow pills and spiritual items to recover their true qi. They could not absorb the immortal qi in the immortal formation. He quickly locked onto two people. One of them was the hunchbacked old man in his 80s. No one would have thought that he was the famous sacred king Guangzhou of the Xinyuan Empire. The other person was a Doichi expert. He was very young, only 30 years old. He was very different from sacred king Guangzhou, but his strength felt similar to sacred king Guangzhou. These two were obviously the strongest of the two factions. Everyone was panicking and uneasy. Some people could not adapt to the immortal formation's shackles and were even on the verge of collapse. Su Fong coldly flashed to the sky above the barrier and let out a long roar. Xinyuan Empire, Dao One sect, you have nowhere to go. They're here. The experts of the two factions hurriedly released their auras and took out their Dharma treasures. They did not dare to walk out of the barrier. The hunchbacked sacred king Guangzhou and Doichi's expert came to the bottom of the barrier with many other experts. When they saw Su Fong standing with his hands behind his back and easily controlling the immortal formation's world power, they were all shocked. Because at this moment, Su Fong felt like an immortal who could do anything. Su Fong laughed heartily. Sacred King Guangzhou, you are the general of the Xinyuan Empire. You work for Marquis Qin Yuanho and control 100,000 troops. Don't you feel that dying at my hands or being shackled in this immortal formation forever will be a waste of all your hard work? Even if you don't feel pity, I feel pity for you. Last time in the Tianhu domain, the great Emperor Dipper brought a group of people over. In the end, he was still killed by me. How can you be my enemy? And the Doichi's experts, you know, heart image life. He died at my hands. He was very strong and had a lot of limitless Dao arts, but he was still killed by me in the end. Do you still think that you are more powerful than the great Emperor Dipper and heart image life? Let me tell you, in this Dao treasure world, you are no match for me. You have already seen my methods. Now I will give you a choice. Submit to me voluntarily, or let me attack you. Chapter 663. Su Fong's words were like a bolt from the blue. One word, one sentence, and more than 1,000 powerhouses were struck silent. Most of the powerhouses from the two forces looked at the Holy King of Broad Reflection and the Doichi powerhouse. They were obviously starting to waver. They secretly asked a powerhouse from the Xinyuan Empire, who had already been suppressed. They learned that the Doichi powerhouse was called Elder Tsang Hao. His position in Doichi was high. Although he was not as high as Xing Xiangxing, he was still an elder-level figure. Elder Tsang Hao. Last time, he killed Xing Xiangxing. This time, another elder came. Inside the barrier, the Holy King of Broad Reflection suddenly shouted, "Kill, kill, kill, we're here to capture this person. If you submit to him, when the Empire comes, everything will be destroyed. Only death awaits you." Su Fong continued to intimidate everyone. "Haha, Holy King of Broad Reflection, is this all you've got? I think there's a good way to kill me. You can come out and fight me. If you can defeat me, then you still have the right to say those words. If you don't have the guts, you can also call Elder Tsang Hao. You killed the higher-ups of my Dao sect, and you still want me to bow to you?" Elder Tsang Hao seemed determined to fight to the end. "I killed the great Emperor Dipper and Xing Xiangxing. I don't believe that the two of you are stronger than them. Holy King of Broad Reflection, you have the spiritual camel immortal cauldron, but you don't. Only the great Emperor Dipper has that kind of protective Dao artifact, but he still lost his physical body in front of me and fled for his life. Do you have Dao artifacts? You don't. Even if you do, you're not my match. Those who submit to me will follow me in the future and become the master of a small world. Those who resist me will be forcefully suppressed by me and can only be slaves in the future. In this world, some people are born extraordinary or ordinary. The ordinary people live a mediocre life. Even if they are extraordinary, They can only follow others for their whole lives and let others control their future. In the end, they don't know how to judge the situation. And those who are born extraordinary, how many of them can treat their subordinates well? At this moment, Su Fang, with the aura of a monarch and leader, let out a majestic roar, releasing a supreme divine might to every expert within the barrier. His gaze was filled with disdain, and he exuded the aura of a sovereign. His gaze gradually darkened. Now I'll give you a choice. Whoever takes the initiative to submit to me will naturally be treated like a guest. Whoosh! Unexpectedly, dozens of powerful figures flew out of the barrier while the Holy King of Broad Illumination and Elder Tsang Hao were not paying attention. We are willing to submit. As soon as they flew out, they put away their magic weapons and flew towards Su Fang. The Holy King of Guangzhou and Elder Tsang Hao were furious. This king will kill whoever dares to go out. Get ready to attack immediately. When these words were spoken, there were quite a few experts who were about to fly out of the enchantment. But when they heard such a decree filled with killing intent, they didn't dare to move. It seems the two of you are the main culprits. Those who submit to me don't resist. Divine Image Jade Annulus. If he did not make a move, he would not be able to completely suppress these people. Especially the Holy King of Broad Illumination and Elder Tsang Hao. In an instant, in the eyes of the experts who submitted to Su Fang, they saw the Supreme Tao Artifact's immortal light fly out from his body and reach the top of the enchantment in an instant. Kill. The two experts led countless powerful figures, wanting to charge out of the enchantment. Bang! The Tao Artifact's divine might shot out immortal light and hit the top of the enchantment first. The enchantment created by a large number of experts was like a jar in front of the Tao Artifact. A huge hole was blasted in the enchantment, and then the whole thing shattered. Almost at the same time, the Divine Image Jade Annulus Divine might swept into the enchantment. Everywhere it went, the powerful figures of the two forces saw that they couldn't resist. They saw that Su Fang was omnipotent, and they saw how insignificant they were. Their loyalty to the Doichi and the Xinyuan Empire was completely shattered. They only had 1 year left to live. A large number of experts stopped resisting and were instantly sucked into the Tao Artifact's divine might. Whoosh! Whoosh! A large number of figures suddenly rushed out from behind just as the Tao Artifact was about to cover everyone. Sacred Monarch Guangzhou, Elder Tsang Hao, you still want to fight when you're at death's door. I won't kill you, but I will shackle you as slaves. The experts you brought will all have a higher status than you. Those who submit to me wait in this forest obediently. If anyone dares to play tricks or run away, I will not hesitate to kill them once I catch up to them. Seeing that the two powerful figures were about to escape, Su Fang didn't care about the other experts. He used his Yang Soul's divine might and forced everyone to wait in this forest. When he put away the Divine Image Jade Annulus, more than 100 experts followed the two powerful figures into the depths of the forest. Yu advised in his divine aperture, Master, there must be something strange in the forest ahead. Be careful of encountering another great world's power that you can't deal with. So what if it's dangerous? I can't let those two escape. In front of the thousands of experts below who were shocked, Su Fang alone released the flaming cloud wings, stepped on the flaming cloud steps, and chased after him with a huff. Once he left, the experts were still dumbstruck, wondering if everything was just a dream. Suppress. After catching up with some experts, Su Fang didn't hold back. He used the Divine Image Jade Annulus and waved his arm. The divine might of the Tao Artifact swept over these experts. What was laughable was that they even took out their artifacts to block the Divine Image Jade Annulus. The divine might of the Tao Artifact wasn't something that the artifacts of the mortal realm could handle. Even if Su Fang couldn't fully activate the divine might of the Tao Artifact, they still couldn't block it. Clang! Clang! More than 20 people were suppressed by the Tao artifact. These people were stubborn and still tried to resist. Su Fong purposely sucked them into the Tao artifact and let Yu plant a special aura in them. When he was free, he would definitely shackle these people into slaves and make them laborers for eternity. The others would have the chance to serve Su Fong like Demon King Shangzuan and Luan Mo and become his right-hand men. Run! He forcefully suppressed the dozens of people behind him. The dozens of people in front were so scared that they completely lost their bottom line and fled in all directions. But their speed couldn't be compared to Su Fong's. After an hour, more than 60 people were completely suppressed by Su Fong. What a thick immortal mist! There were still more than 20 people, especially Saint King Guang Zhao and Elder Tsang Hao, hiding in the depth. Su Fong followed his senses and came to the depths of the forest. The sky was filled with clouds, so he could only come to the forest. The forest was filled with poisonous insects, and some plants also contained indescribable poison. It was very powerful. If he touched even a little bit of it, he would be in danger of being poisoned to death. Next, I will concoct a large amount of pills. To deal with the Xinyuan Empire, I can also concoct special poisons. For example, I can fuse them with non-poisonous true qi, bloody hell wolf smoke, or Een underworld qi. Although it's very difficult to concoct new poisons, I can still collect them and try. He then activated the true demon blood plate and absorbed a large amount of poisonous creatures and insects. After walking for a while, a Doichi expert who was about to die was no longer afraid when he saw Su Fong. Because he was about to die, there was no longer any fear. He deserved it. He originally had a chance to live, but he ended up like this. There was a skeleton near this person. Although it was just a skeleton, there was an empty bag. At first glance, it was an expert from the True Technique Sacred Immortal sect. He had died many years ago. It seemed like he was an expert who came to snatch treasures. In the end, he died here. His future, dreams, and cultivation had all turned to dust. Rustle! He increased his speed and flapped his wings of fire cloud vigorously. After passing through many trees, he suddenly caught up with more than 10 people. Kill! When these people saw Su Fong turn into flames, they immediately acted as if they were going to fight to the death. They took out their Dharma treasures and wanted to fight Su Fong to the death. But how could they be a match for a Tao artifact? Before Su Fong could make a move, a Tao artifact's divine aura swept towards them. After a series of rumbling sounds, their Dharma treasures were sent flying. They were also shaken to the point of vomiting blood. One by one, they were about to fall to the ground. After a series of rustling sounds, none of them were able to escape. In front is the Holy Monarch of Broad Illumination, Elder Tsang Hao, and a few other experts. After wasting some more time, he increased his speed again and immediately turned into flames to chase after them. Many trees rustled and shook, forming a shocking immortal flame. His sensory ability continued to condense. Suddenly, he frowned in surprise. You also sensed it. Master, there is a restriction in the forest in front. There must be an expert guarding it. So what if there are experts? They are still experts suppressed by the Xianjia Gate. Just like the Icebound King. If I really meet them, I can mediate. Chi. He braced himself and barged into the restriction, creating a shocking flame with the restriction. In front of him was a valley. Su Fong had just seen clearly that the flame on his body had yet to disappear. His eyes widened. He saw the Holy Monarch of Broad Illumination, Elder Tsang Hao, and a total of 5 people in a ball of purple immortal light, unable to move. In front of the purple immortal light, in the valley, there was an ordinary wooden house. A restriction aura came from the wooden house, controlling everything in the valley. Let's see where you can run to. He did not care how powerful the owner of the valley was or what status he had. His flaming cloud wings flapped, and he was swept into the purple immortal light. The experts were scared out of their wit. You. Even the holy monarch of broad illumination softened. Su Fong, we can talk. I have thought about it. I will submit to you. You have to save us. Now you regret that I did not kill you. Su Fong took another step closer. He took a closer look at the purple immortal light. This restriction was actually sucking away the life essence of the 5 people. Their life essence was disappearing. Go. He released the immortal Tao aura in his body and merged it with the divine image Jade Wall's power. He immediately activated the purple immortal light. It was indeed an array. After about an hour, Yu found the weakness of the immortal array and created a passage. Su Fong quickly let the 5 people leave the array. Run. The 5 of them took the opportunity to leave the immortal array. One by one, they flew out of the passage and directly into the divine image Jade Wall's space. No matter how they escaped, they would still end up in Su Fong's hands. Buzz. Who knew? A restriction suddenly appeared in the surroundings. It was an immortal array. It came from the power of a perfected immortal. He immediately felt it. He used all his strength to fly out of this mysterious valley. However, the immortal array appeared too quickly and quickly. It immediately trapped him. Master, don't worry. Su Fong's first thought was to counterattack. He released a powerful immortal light and attacked the immortal array. However, the immortal array was not affected at all. Yu reminded him in time. Su Fong patted his head. How could he forget that he had the divine image Jade Wall? It could find the weakness of the array. Suddenly, the wooden house's restriction was activated. A low voice suddenly sounded. Mortal boy, you can do whatever you want in this immortal gate with a Tao artifact. However, because of that, you dare to act recklessly in my place? There is indeed someone. Hearing this voice, Su Fong immediately calmed himself down. He did not use the divine image Jade Wall for the time being, because the person who spoke, with such a tone and methods, was definitely not a mortal. It was an immortal. Since it was an immortal, if he continued to deal with the restriction and the other party attacked, even if he did not die, he would still be trapped here. Chapter 664. At this moment, he could only obediently stay in the immortal array. Su Fong looked at the wooden house with curiosity and uneasiness. Although he had met an immortal, he had at least suppressed Sacred Monarch Guang Zhao and Elder Tsang Hao. Lung Ling suppressed his voice and asked, Senior, are you an immortal shackled in the Xianjia Gate? That voice said, Kid, you obtained a Tao artifact, and you can recognize my identity at a glance. It seems like you, a mortal from a small world, know more about the big world. I do have a Tao artifact, but I don't know much about the big world. I came here to kill my enemy and mistakenly entered Senior's training ground. Senior, please let me live. I'll let you live. The other party seemed to be very puzzled. Su Fong was startled. Give me a way out. Leave this forest. Haha, you're really interesting. It seems like you've just been shackled in this Tao artifact space. I've been suppressed for more than 100,000 years, and I can't see where the way out is. You actually said that if I give you a way out, I'll let you leave the forest. You also have no way out of this Xianjia Gate. Nothing is absolute in this world. Senior, since you've been trapped in this Tao artifact space for countless years, why don't you go deep into the immortal array to find out? You talk about the Xianjia Gate as if it's an ordinary Tao artifact. How would you know how powerful this Tao artifact is? I've gone deep into it several times and met many immortals who had been shackled for decades or even millions of years. I've also been trapped in other immortal arrays many times. It wasn't easy for me to get out of this Tao artifact space with great difficulty. Senior, if you let me go, I can tell you something that you'll be very interested in. Kid, you're interesting. Interesting. The immortal appeared more and more normal. Tell me, since you've been trapped in this Tao artifact space, there's nothing but time. He was sure that the other party was tempted. He held his breath again and bowed. This is not the first time I've come here. You said you've left the Xianjia Gate alive. The immortal instantly understood what he meant and asked in shock. Su Fang immediately told the immortal about how he entered the Xianjia Gate that year, how he was in those strange mirror spaces, and what he encountered. Bang! The wooden house was suddenly reduced to fine powder. A short figure flashed over with a whoosh. His speed was 100 times, no, 1,000 times faster than Su Fang. Before Su Fangda could even see the full power of his ability clearly, a 15 or 16-year-old chubby kid wearing an ancient yellow Taoist robe suddenly appeared in front of him with a silver-white sword on his back. The chubby child's skin was fair and tender, and he had a chubby head and big ears. He looked like a young master who was pampered by a rich and powerful family in the mortal world. So it's an immortal class divine ability from a great world. Your fire-type divine ability isn't simple. Su Fang said modestly, the immortal Tao civilization is prosperous, but some immortals fall into lesser worlds. Junior was just lucky to obtain some technique. It shouldn't count for much in a great world. No. The fat immortal decisively shook his head. Do you think you can casually use an immortal class divine ability to such an extent? Let me tell you, in this lesser world, even if your cultivation base reaches the final layer, close to being a half immortal, you still won't be able to use any immortal class energy art. According to what he said, it seems that the mysterious woman gave me the illusory fire cloud technique really isn't simple. The image of the mysterious woman in the ancient mirror appeared in his mind. When he thought of the illusory fire cloud technique, he thought of the 9 Yang 9 transformations and the heavenly workings life shrinking technique. He thought that the illusory fire cloud technique was just an ordinary technique from a great world. The fat immortal clicked his tongue and laughed. Kid, you have a secret. Either that or your constitution is different. Cultivators like you would be fought over in a great world. I don't like to secretly look into other people's secret. Don't worry, I'm not interested in a mortal like you. The only thing I'm interested in is this immortal Jia Gate. Su Fang felt uneasy when he heard this. How could an immortal be so easy to talk to? Su Fang. They flew to the edge of the forest, where the barrier created by the Doichi and the Xinyuan Empire was located. More than 1,000 experts from the two great powers immediately stood up. You're all obedient. I've already suppressed Sage King Broad Reflection and Elder Tsang Hao. They're not obedient, so they'll be my puppets. But you're different. Although I've suppressed you, I'll give you resources and magical treasures to continue cultivating. Everyone, enter the Tao item world. He led the fat immortal into the air above the forest and let out the sovereign tiger's roar. He spread his hands apart, and immortal light formed from Tao items appeared. Whoosh! One by one, the experts flew toward the door. Master, you can enter the Xianjia door. You can definitely take us out. From now on, we'll loyally work for you. Before the experts flew through the door, they all fought to show their loyalty to Su Fang. You didn't lie to me. You really did leave the Xianjia door. The fat immortal's gaze suddenly changed. It was filled with shrewdness. Su Fang smiled. Senior, you're an immortal. I only dared to lie to you because I didn't want to live. In about 10 breaths, more than 1,000 experts from the Xinyuan Empire and the Doichi were sucked into the divine image jade disc. This was great. Including the Supreme God sect, the three great powers had more than 3,000 experts. They were all suppressed by Su Fang. More than 3,000 experts. They were almost comparable to the Celestial Sealing sect. At the very least, they were at the same level as the Broken Sword sect. The fat immortal's eyes lit up. You're clearly using your advantage to suppress the experts in the Tao item world. You're gathering forces to strengthen yourself. Actually, these are all Junior's enemies. I'm not their match outside, but here, they're all my match. The two of them continued on their way and gradually flew away from the forest behind them. It seems to be Su Fang. What a coincidence! Not long after they flew out of the forest, Su Fang was still releasing his power. He didn't expect that the immortal clouds in front of him would lock onto him. After a while, he knew which power it was. There were more than 100 disciples from the Celestial Sealing sect. They were fighting with another power. Coincidentally, the power fighting with the Celestial Sealing sect was the Green Lotus Sword sect. Both sides had discovered Su Fang at the first moment, and it was likely that they had also secretly spread the news. The fat immortal stroked his fat chin. "You're not welcome." Su Fang appeared very humble. "I won't hide it from Senior. These cultivators all know that Junior escaped from the Xianjia door, and that Junior knows the secret of the Xianjia door. That's why they didn't hesitate to kill their way into the Tao item world. Who knew that I would be afraid of them here? I see. No wonder they have such deep hatred. This is not good. There are thousands of cultivators surrounding you. They're clearly here to catch you. If they want to come, then let them come. Junior doesn't have to waste time looking for them. I'll use my Tao item to absorb as many as they come. Kid, you're ruthless. Unlike me, who has been suppressed for many years. I've long lost my killing intent and desire. All that's left is a trace of survival." His words are somewhat true. Hearing the fat immortal sigh, he couldn't help but think of those cultivators who had been shackled for many years when he first entered the Xianjia door. They didn't have any other demands other than survival. Even Tao items couldn't attract them anymore. So what if they obtained any treasures or resources? They still couldn't leave the Xianjia door. "It's really you, Su Fang." Hundreds of people rushed out of the immortal clouds. They were the cultivators of the Celestial Sealing sect. Su Fang was very familiar with Jin Zhongkong and Elder Juedao. When the two of them saw Su Fang, they didn't say anything. They just gave orders to their disciples and rushed towards Su Fang, fighting with many disciples of the Green Lotus Sword sect. Jin Zhongkong rushed over on his sword. "Su Fang, submit and help us get the Xianjia door. Then you can leave this place. Only then can you keep your life." Elder Jin is right. Elder Juedao also rushed over. He was still in front of Su Fang, releasing his elder's aura. "You still have a chance to live. There are so many people who want to kill you. Without our protection, you won't be able to live for long. Kid, your situation is indeed not good." The fat immortal was the first to speak with a smile. "Jin Zhongkong, Elder Juedao." Su Fang roared in the sky. "Do you think that I, Su Fang, am a disciple of the Celestial Sealing sect that you can manipulate? Haha, I want to see who can do anything to me. You can't, and no one else can. You unfilial son." When Jin Zhongkong and Elder Juedao heard this, it was as if they had been humiliated in front of everyone. They were so angry that their faces turned green and purple. They finally showed their true faces. Thunder increased his speed and led more disciples to attack. "He's from the Green Lotus Sword sect. The Celestial Sealing sect." Most of the experts of the Green Lotus Sword sect also rushed over. It was Elder Red Lotus and Elder Bronze who led thousands of disciples. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.